I had no idea that this person identifies as gender fluid. A white woman would have cried about a black man and he'd have been at the front of the queue in one of those little white suits. She sounds like a content creator that just mooches off of other people, never really puts any effort or work in. She gets to fucking do loads of behavior that makes no sense, is totally incoherent, is totally inconsistent. My read on this from Day Dot was correct. Oh! Okay, right. Now it's starting to come together, isn't it? You are a fucking whore. You're a whore. It's simple as that. If I'm interested in the opinion of a whore, I'll let you know. They've colluded together to piece together a joint hit piece against SuperMega. Before we get to that though, I just want to quickly go over two key pieces of information, okay? Just very, very quickly. Very, very, very quickly. Just two key pieces of information. So the first thing I wanted to just briefly show you here was that Leighton, you know Leighton, the employee that came forward with some complaints, my basic take on it, I think, was like, he's probably overstating it and he's clearly got some very deep-seated mental illnesses, but it sounds like they're kind of like an unprofessional kind of workplace to engage in and they probably need to tighten up some stuff. That was my basic take on it. But I was quite critical of some aspects of Leighton's story. Well, Leighton, one of the claims that he made is that one of the two lads was misgendering his partner, right? And I said at the time, I was like, well, maybe that's true, but it could be some dynamic that maybe they're not aware of or something like that. Like, who knows why that's happening, right? Anyway, turns out Leighton was wrong. Leighton was incorrect about this grand misgendering that was happening.
Welcome to Chud Nation.
My favorite rape debunker.
Like, this is mental. Look at this. Thank you very much for the sub. During my stream, I told a story of how I felt my ex-bosses misgender someone behind their back at the office. I had no idea that this person identifies as gender fluid. I was also unaware that they use he, she, they, it pronouns. It wasn't my place to assume someone's gender and pronouns. I should have checked with this person before I spoke to easily clarify their feelings. The most important thing is there is zero excuse for anyone to try to find this person and direct any harassment towards them. I told that story as an example of how I witnessed people at the Plex talk about other queer people, and I purposely didn't say this person's name to protect their identity. I'm absolutely heartbroken that I've hurt this person. I hope everyone can be respectful and leave them alone. They do not deserve any stress, harassment, or negative attention from this. I only shared that story believing they were a victim. What's funny about this for me is that in spite of this, we've still got to assume that everything that Leighton said is true and correct and without any fault, despite the fact that there's something that he provably got wrong, you know? And this just shows why it's important that you don't just necessarily, you know, assume that what someone is saying is absolutely 100% correct and, you know, the word of God. But yeah, it's like, you know, and also what this adds to as well is the fact he got this wrong is quite indicative of that kind of element in his story, where it just felt like he's got like an axe to grind about his ex-employers. And that being said, I do think that SuperMega have probably got some stuff they need to tighten up on. But even that, like, you know, it's like clearly Leighton wasn't liked and he's got to be in his bonnet about it. You know, he left.
Swag.
Thank you very much for the sub, Max. So, but no, it's, you know, obviously it's like, oh, well, that bit isn't right. That bit isn't right. But, oh, every other bit must be right, you know? Like, Jesus Christ, man. Anyway, I was going to talk a bit about Mr. Beard and stuff, but with these responses, I think we'll get to that after I've looked quickly at this Twitter thread to cover some of the stuff I missed in the video. Quite a big piece of information that I, for some reason, skipped over. But yeah, Mr. Beard, honestly, Mr. Beard, I'm telling you, he's one of the people that back in the fucking days of Jim Crow, back in like the 1900s or whatever, okay, a white woman would have cried rape about a black man and he'd have been at the front of the queue in one of those little white suits. He'd have been one of those little white suits with the white hats, you know? Well, looks like we got ourselves a blank to deal with. Well. Seems like our Felicity here has been assaulted by a...
Welcome to Chud Nation.
better rustle up the boys and go and sort this out, Southern style. Like, you know what I mean? I'm telling you, that's what he would have been. It'd have been that dude. It'd have been a big fat guy in a white suit and a hat, ordering fucking a bunch of Ku Klux Klan members to chase down a black person to string him up because a white woman accused him of rape. Oh, anyway, let's leave it at that from Mr. Beard, okay? Let's very quickly skim through this. Because one detail that I think I missed that's really important. There's a level of entitlement that I think this person demonstrated, this LexUpdog person. And I just wanted to clarify it because I missed it in the original coverage. We've obviously spoken quite a bit about the kind of alleged assault and stuff like that. But when you get to the details here, so... Well, actually, let's just read through it all quickly. In November 2021, I was sexually assaulted by Don on the first night that we had met while dating. We were both staying at Matt Watson's house. He attempted to physically force me to give him oral sex, and the only reason it didn't happen was because I was forced to physically resisted him when he didn't stop to listen to my verbal commands to stop. Obviously, as we know, he's got a different version of events. Anyway, continuing on, I waited to confront Don until Creator Clash 2022, where I could keep it offline and then never see him again. So bear in mind she's missing out here that after this alleged assault happened, she stayed with him for the rest of the week, and then they engaged continuously in this online relationship, I believe even playing like video games together. And then when Creator Clash came about, at that point she invited him to an Airbnb and then told him, you sexually assaulted me, I'm breaking up with you, okay? But she's missed that out for some reason. But then Don was invited to Matt's house in LA right before I moved to LA to stay in the house that they use as an office, the SuperMegaplex for SuperMega, Matt and Ryan McGee's YouTube channel, okay? So obviously the clarity there is she was moving specifically to live in that place, and he got eventually moved out of the way so she could be there without having to see him, to put it simply, okay? I called them before I got there to tell them what had happened so I could avoid being around Don, but they gave me mixed messages. Ryan, one of support, and 2 days later, Matt, a phone call where he went into lawyer mode and promptly explained to me that technically Don isn't an employee, so you don't have to do anything, how SuperMega is his magnum opus, and how this would be very bad for them if anyone found out. The other thing I also wanted to clarify as well, because I touched on this a bit when I watched her video, you know, I think I was a bit like, are they genuinely like kind-hearted, or is it more self-interested that they're kind of like helping her out and letting her stay as long as they did? I think on reflection, it's probably the latter. I think they're probably quite self-interested. I think they don't want this to blow up, and that's probably the reason that they're like allowing her to stay with them for so long, because otherwise, why wouldn't they have like kicked her out a long time ago? It's probably because they're worried about potential blowback or something like that, right? That being said, from that's something you can criticize maybe SuperMega for, possibly, depending on what you think about it. But from her perspective, it's kind of irrelevant because she's still getting to stay there for a long time. She's still getting offered money to move out, right? So even if it's kind of a self-interested move, like, she's still benefiting from that in a lot of ways, okay? That's just another thing I wanted to clarify about my kind of thoughts on this. Anyway, continuing on. Days later, they talked to Don. Oh, so this was days later. Anyway, let's just quickly get through this. Days later, they talked to Don privately at Matt's house, where they proceeded to explain to try and get his side of the story. Left the conversation with Don saying he didn't know what he did wrong, and Matt and Ryan decided for me that Don and I just needed to talk things out in person. The day before I get to that office, Matt texted me and told me he sent Don there and I had to hide in the bathroom for him to leave. During my time in the office, every action was held against us, me and Rav, in silent until they felt appropriate to use them to kick us out, even though those things consisted of leaving to TN while I visited my mum for her birthday, even though I bought a car. So, this is what I missed from the video. Okay? This person was staying for free with the SuperMega people, okay? While staying there for free, she bought a car. She bought a Jeep. This is what I missed from the video, and I kind of skipped over it. I didn't notice it for some reason, right? So, if you're looking at her spending, she's got frivolous Uber Eats spending. She's got marijuana that she's purchasing. She's buying a Jeep. She's buying a fucking Jeep. Why? Like, bear in mind, she doesn't need to commute anywhere, right? Maybe she does need a car or something like that. But even if she I'm skeptical about that. Even if she genuinely needs a car, despite the fact she's apparently a model and doesn't need to travel anywhere for work, in reality, why not just get a cheap runaround? Why not just get like a cheap runaround car? Why would you buy a Jeep? I'd presume that Jeeps are going to be quite expensive, even on a second-hand basis. Just get a Kia or something. I don't fucking know the cars over there, right? Just get a fucking cheap car. Am I fucking insane for that? Let me ask you a question, right? If you were like in someone's house for free and you desperately needed a car, right? But you also needed to move out, what sort of car would you purchase if it was you? What sort of car would you look to purchase? Like, you would look for something that's inexpensive to purchase and inexpensive to run. Exactly. Like a used Honda, used Toyota, something like that, right? You'd be like, right, I'm going to get the cheapest car that's not going to cost me loads in maintenance, that's cheap to run on the gas, wouldn't you?
Welcome to Chud
Now,
Nation.
I don't know about... Thank you very much, Rolling Typhoon, for the sub. I don't know much about the economies of fucking cars in America, okay? But I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb. Oh, my subscription thing was switched off. I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say a Jeep is expensive. And a Jeep isn't the kind of car you should be purchasing when you're up against it financially and you're trying to move out, right? So it just, for me, I think further contextualizes it. In terms of like, she's there, she's living for free. They've offered her money to move out and she said no because she doesn't want strings attached, right? She's spending lots of money on things like Uber Eats and weed. She's purchasing an unnecessarily expensive car in a Jeep. She's also going away on various trips. So if that was you and someone was living in your house, the idea being that they were going to move out and you saw them making these frivolous purchases, buying a Jeep and going away, and then when you spoke to them about moving out, they were like, oh, we're sorry, we're having problems finding a place to live. What would you think about that? What would your thought process be? I'll tell you what mine would be. This person's taking the fucking piss, aren't they? They're going around doing all this frivolous spending. And they're telling, like, just, you know what I mean? You would want them out. You'd be like, hang on a minute, they're taking the piss. So, I think the pressure that we're seeing in some of these messages, to me, even based on her own account of the circumstances, are likely because she's basically mooching off them, without seemingly providing much in return. And it's clear that they want her out, and she's coming up with all these reasons as to why they can't move, when she herself is engaging in behavior that is eating into her finances, which she should be using to focus on finding somewhere to live, right? That's my interpretation based purely on her words alone. So I guess we'll see what the fellas talk about and what they say about this. I'm hoping they don't fucking pussy out and actually stand up for themselves if relevant. The timing of the video suggests that could be the case, but we'll see. Anyway, leaving town to work. What work? You're an OnlyFans model, allegedly. What, where do you need to go to work? Just take a picture of yourself and put it on fucking Patreon or whatever. Ralph's partner having attempted to take their life soon after I arrived, and me being still disturbed by what happened with Don and their reaction to it. If you're disturbed by their reaction to it, why aren't you desperately trying to move out? Okay. We're all held against us, and they use it to gaslight us into being framed as lazy. Oh my god! Okay, I'm glad I'm reading this later, so we can approach it with a kind of fresh set of eyes, right? That sounds very likely, doesn't it? Yeah, I'm sure that's what was happening. Yeah. Okay. When we were working harder than normal to get the less work done due to having no place to work. Any action that wasn't looking for a place or going to see one, aka being faster than going away, was seen as bad when there was no sense of urgency placed upon us to begin with when we arrived. Okay. Classic moocher. Absolute classic fucking moocher. Okay, this is the absolute language of a moocher. Okay. Staying at the office was uncomfortable as they did not want us to be there after this event, and we ended up homeless as a result of them icing us out and refusing to communicate to us almost completely despite staying at their job, even about crucial things like concerns about living there or when they wanted us gone. Matt and Ryan instead delegated this responsibility to their employees, who we saw as friends asking us to help them with chores around the house until they had them correspond in their stead about moving out. Upon which we realised what was going on and saw ourselves out before we got kicked out. Also, well, how long did she stay? I still have not got an exact answer to that. How long was she living there for? I've heard a period of months bandied about, but how long exactly? I need to know exactly how long. It's an important piece of information. Anyway, after this, we had no communication with them. We were robbed on the way out of and back from LA. We lost almost everything we had, and we couldn't get our belongings from the office while living in the car and from hotel to hotel for a while because they weren't talking to us. I felt like I couldn't talk about what was going on with me for the past year because I'd have to explain things Matt and Ryan clearly didn't want people to know. There we go. A few months in California is worth a lot. Wait, is this a picture of the Jeep? No way. You're going to fucking laugh when you see this, fellas. And the few women that watch me. You're going to look at this. Look at that, man. Look. What the actual fuck is that? Why would you spend homeless apparently, no money to move anywhere. Look at it, look at the size of it. How much gas does that fucking guzzle? Bear in mind as well, she apparently is a model. Where does she need to travel? And even if you could argue she needs to travel somewhere, why does she need to travel in a fucking, a plush Jeep? Just get a cheap runaround. That's what normal people do. That's what normal people do. If they're poor, they're like, oh shit, I need to save. I'll just buy some fucking Honda or something for a bit. Fuck me, man. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. How are people fucking backing this person? Unreal, man. It's absolutely unreal. Well, yeah, that's the other thing that I've heard, is apparently her modeling stuff is very lackluster and she doesn't upload very regularly. She sounds, she sounds like a content creator that just mooches off of other people, never really puts any effort or work in, and then is now mad that she's being fucking kicked out of this place, feels like she's got a God-given right to be lived there forever because of this sexual assault that happened. Oh my God, man, it's unreal. I'd love someone to explain that to me. I'd love someone to explain to me how someone that apparently is pleading poverty, right, that is supposed to be moving out of someone's place, can afford to go and buy a Jeep of that nature and why that makes sense financially. I'd love to have that explained to me. That would be a fascinating conversation. Anyway, I'm glad we had a little quick look at the old Jeep situation because look what we found. If she had a cheap car, you'd be whining she doesn't walk everywhere. No, I wouldn't. Not at all, no. I might question whether she actually needs it, where she's going. But other than that, I mean, no, I wouldn't. Not at all. Because if there's genuinely a case for a car, that's fine. But why the fuck would you get a really expensive Jeep? Why wouldn't you just get a little runaround like most normal people? Anyway, that being said, we're about to watch the response now, guys. Here we go.
I wanted to start off by apologizing for this response coming so late. A lot has come out and I wanted to take the proper time to think about the situation and reflect so I could respond. Before you watch this video or any other video dealing with this subject, it is important you read Lex's Twitter post and go watch their YouTube video about the situation. Trigger warning for those who are sensitive to conversations about sexual assault. On the night of May 25th, Lex reached out to me through text They wanted to talk about something. I said, okay. She called. I answered. And she began to confide in me about a sexual assault that she experienced by our mutual friend, Don, who was our channel artist at the time. I took these allegations seriously and expressed my support for Lex, and I asked her permission to talk to Don about the sexual assault directly. Unfortunately, my words ended up ringing hollow as Matt and I continuously tiptoed around the subject. We didn't expect this from Don. Nobody expects their friend to do something this serious to another friend. We selfishly waited until we felt comfortable to have this discussion with Don instead of having the victims back immediately. Matt and I did eventually sit down with Don to have this discussion.
So yeah, they're going to sell Don down the river completely, basically. Don is just fucked now. Don is just, you know, this is the easiest thing for them to do, is to just, because they've already sort of done this. They've already sort of done this because they've already cut him off. Based on what Don said, it sounds like they kind of cut him off without really explaining what was what. But yeah, Don is just completely under the fucking axle of the cart of the bus right now. He's fucked, basically.
It started the conversation with Don, I believe, inquiring about a visa and starting to work for us potentially full time. Of course, that was not the subject Matt and I came to discuss, so we quickly turned the subject over, said we are not talking about this, and that we were going to be talking about the situation between him and Lex. He explained away the assault, excusing it as a miscommunication of boundaries and an intimate...
Oh my god, this is so scummy! This is so scummy! The thing is, what's frustrating about this is, this absolutely comes across as like a self-interested play. This is obviously the easiest thing for them to do, is to just fucking completely throw him under the bus. To be honest though, even with that being said, I am interested to see how they respond to these allegations of like the living situation. That is the primary thing that I'm looking to kind of see here, right? It's kind of obvious that they were just going to fuck... Because what, you know, what are they going to do? Come out and go, well, actually, no, when we spoke to Don, he had a different story. You know, he had a different story, and no, it's not quite what you think, and da-da-da. The easiest thing for them to do is go, yeah, Don did it, but actually, you know, he didn't deal with it quickly enough. That's going to be the, you know, the circumstance here. Oh, hey, Becca, thank you for the subs. Appreciate it. I hope you're well.
Moment, and we told Don if he truly believed that, if he truly believed that it was a boundary miscommunication, then he should apologize to Lex directly. This was, of course, the wrong decision. This put the onus on Lex to have a discussion with their abuser, which is a ridiculous ask for someone to make, and was a bad decision on both Matt and I's account, and we handled that very poorly. It's stupid that we even thought that that was a good idea. In reality, it's just dismissive and wrong. Again, after some tiptoeing, we ended up cutting ties with Don, both personally and professionally. We cut all contact with him. We also updated those who we knew that were working with him of the situation. This should have been done from the very start, and I regret that we handled this in the worst way possible. There's no excusing the lack of tact that was used to handle this. Lex should have felt safe, and I am sorry to Lex for making them feel like they weren't heard at that time. I was spineless. Could have been handled so much...
I've got to be honest with you, I think this now is more spineless, but it's to be, you know, it sounds horrible, but it's to kind of be expected. Like, obviously this is the easiest play for them, isn't it? But yeah.
Much better, and should have been handled so much better, especially since Lex was the one who trusted us with her story and her trauma. There's no excusing the way Matt and I handled that situation.
So they can just kind of, you know, reaffirm that Don's a bad guy and just go, you know, oh, we made some mistakes in how we handled it, right? And this is also pivoting away from the more serious allegation that was made, which is basically that they were trying to like cover it up in some way, right?
If we were to do it right, we would have, from the get-go, fired Don immediately. We ended up doing that
I'm telling you guys, this is it now. We're in a new paradigm. Well, not new. It's been happening for a while, I guess. But this is, if a woman says something happened, it happened. Okay? It literally is as simple as that now. If a woman said something happened, it happened, and the people that are accused should receive immediate and unequivocal consequences. That's it, guys. Do not question or scrutinize the women. You must believe they are telling an absolute factual account of what happened. And you may think, well, what about this incoherent and inconsistent behavior? No, you don't understand. That's because of trauma. That's because of trauma. The reason they acted in a completely, confusing way that doesn't add up to how someone would act in that situation, that's because it's trauma. And victims don't behave rationally. Come on now, don't be a rape apologist. Anyway, let's get through this.
It took us too long. I'm now going to address something else that has come out about me, and that is the fact that I had inappropriate communications with fans while in a long-term committed relationship. While technically these actions are between two consenting adults, it truly is pathetic, and there's no excuse for it. It's clear that instead of being responsible with the SuperMega brand, I abused my position and my power for selfish self-indulgence.
Oh my God.
I know that there is no sorry to rectify the damage I've done with this, and not because of how it's affecting me right now, because I deserve this. What I did is inexcusable and inappropriate. I'm not sorry because of how this is all affecting me in this current time. I'm sorry for how this has affected everyone that was within the vicinity of this situation. My ex, my friends, my family, my employees, and everyone in between who trusted me deserved a lot better. And because of my selfish actions, I have irreparably hurt and damaged all of those involved who were not deserving of it, who had no idea of anything that was going on.
The thing is like, it is obviously disappointing for me because I'm sat thinking like, why aren't these guys standing up for themselves more? Like some of this stuff isn't even like relevant to make an apology for. Okay, you're in a relationship and you're sexting fan. Like, so fucking what? Who cares? What business is that of anyone? Doesn't matter. As long as you're not, trying to do any sort of weird like, oh, I'll let you come on stream if you send me your tits and stuff like that. But the thing is if you look at the kind of the state of the board as it stands, you've got like just a mountain of ravenous fans. I mean, their subreddit has basically become an anti-fan subreddit overnight, right? So I think this is cucked, right? I think this is disappointing, but like, it's kind of to be expected. Like, what other choice have they got? Start fresh. Here's the other thing. Okay. Apparently, okay, I have heard on the grapevine, my understanding is that these guys basically pivoted towards like a more progressive audience in order to continue growing or something along those lines. So, apparently they're like super edgy and stuff behind the scenes. And I think that's kind of evidenced by some of the claims that Leighton made, some of which are probably true. But they've kind of pivoted, I think, to a more progressive kind of bent. And so this is the consequence of that, is that if you do that, if something happens like this, you've got to kind of throw yourself to the wolves. Otherwise, well, you're kind of fucked, aren't you? But the problem is for a lot of people, this is not going to be enough. There'll be some people that will go, oh, they apologized. It's fine. I'm over it now, whatever. But some people are just going to find some way to scrutinize the apology and find out, oh, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. So, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, let's continue on.
Again, my ex, my friends, and my family had no idea what I was doing. I know that there is no fixing what I did. I caused damage to people, and I can't change that. And it was all just about me and what I wanted and how selfish I was for years. I want to apologize to everyone I hurt in this situation because, again, they did nothing wrong. They trusted me, and I broke that trust. Since this is my final video, this next topic is really the only thing I care to defend myself on. And trigger warning for those who are sensitive to discussions about suicide. Recently on a live stream, it was mentioned that I would regularly bring up Daniel's suicide in a disrespectful and callous manner. Before I go further, I would like to go into who Daniel was to me, so those who don't know don't lack context.
Final video discussion of suicide.
Daniel and I met in high school and became good friends, and we moved into the college years becoming best friends. I would tell him that even though he was younger than I was, he always felt like an older brother. He just had that intelligence about him. He was a very smart guy. He was very talented. We ended up collaborating to create the channel Syndigo, and we eventually moved out to LA in February of 2015. Daniel and I got an apartment together, but then eventually moved into a house with both Matt and Mark. On September 16th, 2015, while Matt was in South Carolina and Mark was at work, I found Daniel unresponsive in his room due to an apparent suicide attempt. He was taken off of life support on September 18th of 2015. To address these allegations head on about me making fun of the suicide of my best friend, I just want to state that it's just untrue. The person making these claims never knew Daniel. They definitely...
Oh, he's going after Leighton. Oh, okay. This is an interesting strategy. It's an interesting strategy. Okay. So he's kneeling for the woman, but Leighton, he's going, no, this is not true. Okay. This is actually bolstered by the fact that another one of his claims wasn't true, to be fair. So
definitely were not a part of the group that experienced the trauma of losing him. And I think, honestly, it is disrespectful to bring him up as a weapon. I felt like he was just brought into the situation for drama's sake, to try to hurt me or Matt or hurt our image. I have done enough shit to tarnish my image, but I will not stand by and let someone talk lies about the way I talked or treated my trauma in regards to Daniel. The sole focus of all of this should have been about the support that Lex needed and about how we mishandled the situation. All of the attention should have been on Lex. Why Daniel was brought into it, I have no...
That's very interesting. That's an interesting strategy. So he's kind of using the logic of, oh, it's all about the woman against Leighton. That is... Okay, listen, it is all very shameless, self-interested behavior on the part of this guy, I've got to say. But nonetheless, I still respect it. No
idea. I just wish personally he was left out of this completely. I want to end this by giving one last apology to everyone who was affected by my actions. Lex, you deserved a lot better. As I said before, there is no excuse. I was simply a coward. I want to also give an apology to all the SuperMega employees who trusted me. I misused that trust. You trusted me to have your back. You had no idea what was going on behind the scenes. And now because of my actions,
By the way, I'll show it in a sec.
The repercussions also fall on you, and that is not fair. And I'm a piece of shit for that, and I'm sorry. And there's nothing I can do to change this, and there's nothing I can do to repair the jobs that are lost because of me, and the relationships that are changed and lost because of me, and the people that are hurt because of me. I have obviously been irresponsible with the platform I was given, so as it stands, I don't deserve one. Again, I want to apologize to everyone I affected with my actions.
So is he quitting?
It was truly selfish, and it's unforgivable. Thank you for listening.
Is he quitting his stuff? Is that what's happening?
I want to...
Right, well, we'll listen to this as well. Or is he saying, I can't do that? By the way, okay. By the way, These are the kinds of fans he's apologizing to. They came up with a little bingo sheet. They came up with a bingo sheet. Literally rubbing their hands together, waiting for the response so they can scrutinize it and call it shit. Nice fan base. Nice fan base. Do you know what's funny as well, right? The people that are mad at me are SuperMega fans, right? They're mad at me, you know, and I've been fucking calling it as I see it and defending where I feel it's fair. But they're mad at me and they're calling me like a SuperMega dick rider. And I'm like, I literally had no idea who these guys were. People were having to tell me it was two separate dudes. I didn't know who the fuck they were. But, you know. For some reason, they think I'm just a massive SuperMega fan. Before this happened, I'd literally never seen or heard of them before. Anyway, they've come together with a little bingo sheet. You know, imagine your fan base sat there desperately salivating. Desperately salivating to, you know, tick off things that you're doing that are wrong. Oh my God, man. Cucked. Right. Hopefully this one's got a bit more meat on the bone. Based on the previous video, it seems like they're just completely kneeling to Lex and they're not going to stand up for themselves in any meaningful way. When, you know, there's absolutely things that you could defend yourself on in this, particularly some of her claims about the living circumstances. But we'll see. We'll see what Matt's got to say.
I want to start this video out by apologizing for the delay. This is a very serious matter, and I wanted to make sure I gave this ample, you know, time and thought before speaking publicly. You probably also noticed that Ryan and I are both doing separate videos. This is because we each have specific points that we want to say, and we didn't think it would be as efficient to cram all of it into one video next to each other. So instead, we opted to do two separate videos. But yeah, a lot has obviously been said in the last few days. I want to address everything that's been said, and I want to apologize and take accountability where I need to take accountability. For those who don't know, Lex is an old friend of ours who recently released a statement on Twitter, as well as a YouTube video detailing a sexual assault incident that involved our former channel artist Dawn, as well as her recent experiences with myself and Ryan, aka SuperMega. I'm going to go ahead and read what Lex posted on Twitter so you can get her words verbatim on everything that happened. And then I'm going to try to supply as much additional context as I can, which we realized what was going on and saw us the way out while living in the talk about the no. Sincere apology, because begin by offering Lex the deepest and most sincere apology, because the bottom line is Ryan and myself did not handle the situation well. There are a lot of ways that we could have handled the situation better, and we didn't. I also want to state that we never took any action to cover up a sexual assault, and we never tried to cover Dawn from any consequences. And I'll go into that more as we progress through the video. So on May 19th, 2022, after returning home from Creator Clash, I got a call from Dawn in which he was crying, saying that him and Lex had just broken up. He told me he was essentially stuck in Florida because he's from Germany and he had no money and didn't know what to do. And at this time, I didn't know any specifics of what had happened with the breakup. He mentioned to me that they had been distant and then ended up just breaking up. That was the extent of my knowledge on the split at the time.
I think this was the first Creator Clash, right? Yeah, this was like the first Creator Clash that they're talking about. So there was a little bit of drama going on behind the scenes that we didn't actually see.
Feeling bad for Don, I offered to get him a one-way plane ticket to LA to come crash at my place until he could find a way to get back to Germany. He took me up on the offer, and on May 23rd, he flew out to LA. When Don arrived, he cried to me about how heartbroken he was, and the whole time I was none the wiser on what had actually taken place between him and Lex, and if I had known, I would not have invited him out to LA to stay with me. I would not have housed him. I don't remember exactly, but I think Rav was the one who told me initially on my balcony one night, and he told me that Dawn had sexually assaulted Lex. This was something that I did not expect from Dawn, and truth be told, I had a bit of a hard time accepting it. I soon asked Dawn about this.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair enough, no? Like, why are we creating this world why a woman has just got to be believed that something happened without a shred of proof or evidence? Especially when these guys have been privy to behavior that goes against the idea that this assault happened.
This, and what he told me was he chalked it up to basically a misunderstanding in the bedroom. At this time, I did not grasp how serious the situation was, and obviously he did not either. So Lex gave Ryan a call soon after to explain what had happened, and she told him that Dawn had sexually assaulted her. I then had a phone call with Lex shortly after on May 27th, where she detailed to me what had happened between her and Dawn in November of 2021 when they were staying at my house. I want to state that from the beginning, when she told me, I fully believed and have supported Lex, which I stressed to her.
Oh my God. This is so, it's so wrong. It is so fucking wrong. It is so unfair. It is so unreasonable. It's so unfair. Do not scrutinize women. Believe what they say is the word of God truth, okay? And you cannot go against it in any way. And if you do, you're a rape apologist incel. Unlucky. We've created a world where a woman must be believed. No questions.
Throughout this phone call. However, I do think that some of the things I said on this call were misinterpreted, and this has zero fault on Lex. This is 100% my fault for poorly articulating my thoughts. I wasn't sure how to talk about this type of situation, and I believe that some of the things that I said to Lex on this call came across very differently from what I intended. But I do know that intent does not change how it was interpreted and how Lex felt about it. But I did want to give some more context on that phone call. I told Lex that Ryan and I fully supported her, that we believed her 100%, and that we would be there for her. To be honest, I was terrified of misstepping in this situation due to its sensitive nature. And
yeah, I wonder why that would be. I wonder why you'd be terrified of misstepping. Oh my God.
Okay, that's wonderful. But how do I make money off depressed people?
Look, Chud, it is believe all women until a white woman accuses a black man.
True. Thank you very much for the 420. The amount progressives gone about Emmett Till, you'd have thought they'd learned something about it, but apparently not. I don't know, man. It's just... Oh, sometimes I wonder if I'm overstating it, but I'm genuinely not. When I say that we've created a world where you must believe women, the truthful word of God, must not go against it, must not question it. That is it. We're there. We're there. We're 100% there. You know, and it's troubling. It's troubling, you know. And obviously I'll, you know, gesture towards my esteemed colleague, Harmful Opinions, when he talks about if this is genuinely as bad as everyone is making out, why are the police not involved? It doesn't make any sense. But no, we don't need to involve the police. We can just make a couple of phone calls, get this Don guy smeared and get him fucked off, and then I can move into the place. Lovely jubbly.
And how close it was to home. I was not sure how to navigate it. This was all new territory to me. And I asked her a really stupid question because of that. I asked Lex what she wanted me and Ryan to do about the situation, which was an absolutely dumbass thing to ask. I meant it from a place of, we want to help and we will do whatever it is you want us to do to make the situation better. I now see that obviously came across as me putting the responsibility of the situation back on the victim, and I feel terrible about that. My intention was to be helpful, and I went about it very poorly. In Lex's statement, she said that I brought up technicalities over Don's employment, as well as me saying something along the lines of how much it would suck for SuperMega if this got out, and that SuperMega was my magnum opus, and I didn't want anything to ruin that. Over the course of the phone call, we did discuss Don's role with SuperMega, and while I don't recall making any of those specific comments, I do know I brought up our business and how Don's actions might affect that. That was completely wrong of me to do. I never should have brought up anything as trivial as that, while Lex was telling me something very difficult. I was kind of freaking out, and I was thinking out loud. It should not have even been on my mind, and that was selfish of me. What I should have done was just listened and offered support and not question anything. Rav and Lex have both mentioned that I've made comments where I've said, well, Don isn't technically an employee, so we don't have to do anything. I don't see the logic in that or why I would have said that, because that's not something I would have said. I think it's more realistic that something was misinterpreted.
So, you know, I think, I mean, obviously I've made my piece about how this, you know, the Don stuff is very self-interested, you know, well, no, we did agree with him and we got rid of him or whatever, that's, you know, I think that's kind of a bit spineless, whatever it is what it is. But like, you at the time being concerned about how your project is going to be affected by this is pretty fucking reasonable to me. Like, yeah, obviously that's going to be a concern for you. Why are we acting like someone thinking, oh shit, this could fuck up my whole career? Like, yeah, that's going to be pretty shit, especially when you haven't even done anything, you know? Oh my God. Yes. Oh my God. This is such a good. Yeah. She gets to fucking do loads of behavior that makes no sense, is totally incoherent, is totally inconsistent. And that's just tied up to, well, she was an irrational victim. What do you expect? But this person makes a fucking misstep in a situation they've never dealt with before. And it's got to be pitch perfect. Everything you say has to be spot on. You have to immediately get rid of the person. No questions asked, you know? Oh my God. It is so unfair and unreasonable. It really is. But hey. What can you do? C'est la vie, I guess. Yeah, the microscope goes on. Boom. Right. Are all of your actions exactly as they should be incorrect? Oh, you made a misstep. You're a bad person.
Interpreted or miscommunicated there. I ended the call by voicing,
if that situation comes up, just say you got raped and you're a victim and you're acting irrationally because you've been raped. That's my advice. Do the counter-rape play. Do the counter-rape play. That's the only move you've got.
complete support for Lex and telling her that Ryan and I were here for her and we would figure out what to do. In hindsight, the answer is obvious, and we should have acted immediately, but we didn't. For context, here are the text messages right before and
Okay, about to call. We're here for you. Thank you for sharing that. I know it isn't easy to talk about. Please let me know if you need to talk or vent or just need an ear. Okay. Thank you for being such a good friend to me always. Of course, always here for you, Lex. But now we're supposed to believe that this call was some sort of like terrible thing that she was left feeling awful about. But here she is saying, thanks for being a good friend. Is he showing this to let us know discreetly without saying it explicitly that, hang on a minute, she did say this, but he can't say it? I don't know. Maybe that's something. Who knows?
and right after that call, showing that I was supportive. I was not completely callous like it was made out to be. And as a side note, I'm hoping that people will not confuse me providing more context where I think it's needed with just getting defensive. To be honest, Ryan and I were scared of this whole situation. We knew that we needed to talk to Dawn, so me and Ryan organized a meeting with him at our office where we sat him down and confronted him about this. We asked him what had happened that night, and he explained it from his perspective, which was very different from Lex's perspective. We felt a little confused.
Yeah, funny that, isn't it? Funny that how his account was very different to her account. Interesting.
On what had happened that night, as did Rav. Rav was all
One thing I want to understand, I just genuinely would love to ask some of these people that say this kind of stuff about believe women, okay? How do you account for the fact that he is telling story, she's telling story A and he's telling story B? How do you account for that in these situations? Because obviously, in like an investigation, the police will interrogate and they will engage in certain tactics and skills to try and influence someone to maybe give the game away or do something. They use their training and stuff to maybe get some insight, maybe utilize evidence, maybe dig up some stuff, look at messages, whatever the case may be. But in these situations where it's all amateurs dealing with it, this is why, again, you should go to the police if you genuinely feel something has happened. But like, what do we do then? So a woman is telling story A, a man is telling story B. Is it genuinely, as I think it is, that the woman is just telling the truth and the man is lying? Like, how do you determine that's what we've got the term for. He said, she said. How do you determine who is correct, who's telling the truth, who isn't? Oh my God.
also trying to figure out what had gone down. And at this point, I don't think any of us still were taking it as seriously as we should have been. And that is something that I sincerely regret, because we did not take it as seriously right from the jump as we should have. Instead, we asked questions and tried to do some detective work and get to the bottom of it. And
literally nothing wrong with that. There's literally nothing wrong with trying to figure out what happened. And this person and no one else should ever be fucking lied to and gaslit, which is what this is, into believing there's anything wrong with that. Sorry, I asked some questions of the person to try and figure out what happened. My apologies for not immediately denouncing them as a rapist and cutting them off. My mistake.
Maybe have Don talk to Lex to try to figure out, you know, if this was a misunderstanding, which I now see was an absolutely, you know, terrible move, suggesting that. Having a victim and an abuser, you know, telling them to, you know, maybe to talk to each other, horrible. And that is something that I'm so sorry about, Lex. Here you can see some text messages between myself and Rav, where Rav is saying that he figured out a little more context on the situation at one point. Rav did wisen up quicker than text on the situation.
What's this? I have more context into the situation now, by the way. Yeah. Yeah, it seems less serious. What's this? Are they talking about the sexual assault? I could bring you up to speed later when it's just you and I. Am I misreading that or something? What's that about? This is before the call with Lex, apparently. Also, I should probably just fill you in, for those of you that don't know, okay? After this so-called sexual assault happened, Lex continued to stay with Don for the rest of the week, okay? Lex continued to stay with Don for this trip they had planned. Then, after that, they went their separate ways, but they continued their kind of online relationship, and they hung out together, played video games in groups and stuff like that. And then Lex invited Don to create the Airbnb she was staying at for the Creator Clash. And then at that point, she said to Don, "You sexually assaulted me, and I don't want to be with you anymore." So there's a lot of context missing, obviously, from this, if you don't know, where it is totally reasonable to question, well, hang on a minute, like, you're claiming this happened, but there's this behavior from you. Don's got a different story as well. Like, what is the actual truth of what happened here? There are messages of her saying, "I love you," and stuff like that to Don. And here's the other point I wanted to make, actually, which I'll make now that we're here, okay? I heard rumors they were palling around at Creator Clash. Okay, well, yeah. But here's the thing. When people say stuff like, "Oh, people don't realize that something bad happened to them until later on," okay? Right? That is true, obviously. That is obviously true, okay? And certainly in situations like kids being groomed, like a kid isn't necessarily going to know at the time, and it's only later when they come to realize the enormity of what's happened that it all clicks into place and it fucks them up, you know? And I think there's also circumstances where maybe a woman trying to, you know, has a situation where something happens, later on it clicks, and, you know, there's definitely stuff like that happens. But I just don't see it here. I just don't see how, you know, even with that sort of mentality taken into account, that that's a good explanation that explains the actions of Lex in an adequate way, you know. But what they've done is they've created this. Someone put this on Twitter. I really liked it. There's a big red button. There's a big red button, okay? And the button is labeled trauma, okay? In an emergency, slam that big red button and it explains everything away. And it explains literally everything away, you know? Well, what about the fact that you continue to stay with him and you continue to be in an online relationship with him, which, by the way, in that circumstance, when you're just engaging in an online relationship situation, that's the easiest situation with which to cut it off. There's less pressure. You can just send a message and you can say, "By the way, I don't want to be with you anymore. You did this thing to me," right? Why would you go from an online situation where you can break up with someone to inviting them to the Airbnb that you're staying at to break up with you? It doesn't make any fucking sense. It doesn't make any sense. What does make sense though, is the idea, and I'm not saying that Don's tale is necessarily 100% correct. No one knows. No one was there. It's he said, she said. Okay? But what's more likely is that the truth is somewhere in the middle. It wasn't quite, you know, the giga rape that Lex presented it as, and that people seem to interpret it as. It maybe wasn't as soft as like the way that Don presented it. It was probably somewhere in the middle. Probably falls under some sort of like awkward, you know, nasty sexual encounter or something like that, right? And following that, they continued on. It was a bit awkward. They continued their relationship after that. And then post hoc rationalization after, you know, maybe Lex got some sort of trauma response and then had a sort of view on it based on a previous situation. I don't fucking know exactly, right? But that seems far more likely than there was this brutal sexual assault that occurred and then she stayed with him for the rest of the week, continued an online relationship, and then invited him to the Airbnb that she was staying at for Creator Clash. It just doesn't add up. And you can tell me until you're blue in the face, trauma, oh, also, you know, they're acting irrational ways, whatever. You're not going to fucking convince me. I will not be fucking convinced, okay? And the other problem I've got with all of this, is that if you look at a video, right? If you look at a video, the discount Orby Plaza is so fucking ridiculous. Oh, yeah, I was literally about to say this again, yeah. I feel you were spot on the other day, stating she is using the Don situation as a vehicle to bring up bullshit on SuperMega. Exactly what I was about to say. If you look at the video, the small portion of it is actually talking about what Don did. And the vast majority of the video is litigating all of this shit and issues that she had with SuperMega, right? So it absolutely seems to me like she's using this as a tool with which to actually make an attack on SuperMega because she's got these fuckers being a bonnet about these issues that she had with them, you know? Especially now we're getting some extra context here. And if you look at it, you know, I would probably say that if they, you know, maybe they could have dealt with it in a different way or whatever. Maybe they weren't, sure, whatever the case would be. But at the time, it seemed, based on the message, obviously we don't have a call recording, based on the message that Lex sent after the call, it seemed like she was fairly satisfied with the outcome of the call. Do you know what I mean? So it's like there's little pieces of a story that are being kind of undermined a bit here in a kind of discreet way, because obviously he can't come out and do that. So yeah, hopefully he kind of defends himself more on this housing stuff. But it just comes across to me like this was more about SuperMega as a unit rather than this sexual assault thing that was used as a stepping stone to attack. I don't even know, you know. I don't even know. I don't know what's in Lex's head. I can't account for that, okay? Is it pure malice? Is there some trauma? I don't know. But the thing is, it doesn't really matter to me, okay? Because the output of her kind of actions, to me, are very malicious. So even if it's like a more innocent description, she, you know, certainly comes across as someone who is engaging in whatever tactics she can to get the outcome that she desires, you know?
At one point, Rav did wisen up quicker than Ryan and I did, though. I think that he took it more seriously than we did. We were still confused and not sure what to do, and we messed up. Anyway, I'm going to fast forward a little bit to July 4th. We had a party at the Super Megaplex, and afterwards, Lex came over to my place to crash for the night. While we were in the living room after we got back, I was on one couch, she was on the other. We had a very in-depth conversation about the entire Dawn situation. At this point, I had had more time to reflect on it and kind of see where I had messed up and better understood what had actually taken place and how my response to that was poor. In this conversation, I sincerely apologized to Lex. I admitted where I was wrong and I took responsibility. I expressed remorse for how I had acted during the situation, and she accepted my apology. This is why I ultimately found myself a bit confused as to why there's a notion that I have never addressed this with Lex, because I have. I, however, don't blame Lex at all for how she may feel, because this is a very complicated situation, and I can't even begin to pretend to understand how she feels and what kind of emotions are at play here. Despite our delayed action on this, I do want to state unequivocally that Ryan and I never made any attempts to cover up a sexual assault or to aid Don. People have been theorizing and asking us for over a year, where did Don go? Why is Don no longer the channel artist? This is the reason. In response to what Lex told us, we removed Don as our channel artist and we cut contact with him 100%. Personal business, we have not had any communications. And we
So, you know, as I said when I covered Lex's story as well, it's like, to me, that was a shitty thing on their part, really, because they seemingly did that, you know, without an actual meaningful investigation. It seems like they kind of questioned him on it a bit. I mean, I don't know what that looked like. But yeah, they obviously, but then from like the other side of it, it's like, well, he did get cut off. Like he did get removed from the project, you know? So even if you've got criticisms of the way they handled it from the other side, you must accept that they cut him off on the basis of this allegation that was made, you know?
did not cover this up from other people. For example, I was the one who told Ross over the phone because Ross had a show with Dawn and I felt like he needed to know this. However, we weren't like super open about this to people, especially, you know, we didn't say anything to the public about it. We never stated our reasoning for cutting contact with Dawn or removing him as the channel artist because Lex had not publicly talked about this and she expressed that she did not want this to be a thing that was public. We felt like it was not our place to...
Wait, hang on, wait.
was the one who told Ross over the phone because Ross had a show with Dawn and I felt like he needed to know this. However, we weren't like super open about this to people, especially, you know, we didn't say anything to the public about it. We never stated our reasoning for cutting contact with Dawn or removing him as the channel artist because Lex had not publicly talked about this and she expressed that she did not want this to be a thing that was public. We felt like it was not our place to address someone else's sexual assault and give that as the reasoning for removing contact with Dawn. We figured that as long as he was gone and we weren't working with him, you know, that was our response. The last thing that we wanted was to bring attention to something that Lex did not want attention brought to. And while we did remove Dawn...
So basically what he's saying here, from the sounds of it then, is like, so Lex is claiming that, I don't want to misspeak, and did she say something along the lines of like they didn't deal with it and make a public response about it or something? Is that, am I understanding it, remember correctly? In any case, they're basically saying, from their perspective, Lex didn't want this spoken about, so they dealt with it discreetly, they got rid of him, removed him from the SuperMega project, and that was that, right? I mean, again, it's like, what more can you really expect from someone? Like, you know, it seems like the issue here is that they didn't sooner just immediately cut him off without even talking to him and just calling it a day there, you know? Do you know what's funny as well, right? I mean, obviously America's a bit dicey when it comes to this stuff, but if you worked a job in the UK and it was assumed you'd done something bad and you were fired without recourse, without investigation, you could actually take them to a fucking tribunal and probably win if that was the case. Because in like a corporate company, they need to follow a process, and if they don't follow the correct process, you can absolutely fucking hammer them for that. And I've, you know, having dealt with that sort of stuff in my past, I've seen that play out, where the company doesn't follow the correct procedure as per the letter of the contract, and the employee gets let go, and they come back and file a what's it called, a tribunal. But yeah, obviously in this situation, not quite the same dynamic, so that's not going to be the case. But yeah. The whole having to keep someone else's secret narrative she set up is completely false then. I mean, he's not saying that explicitly, right? Clearly his response here is he wants to defend himself. He needs to be careful because he can't come across that he's like shitting on Lex. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely pushing back against some aspects of the narrative. But he's kind of presenting it as, oh, it was all very confusing. I'm sure this is why this is coming out this way. Not that, like, she's maliciously misrepresenting and making things up. Which, obviously, I think we all know my thoughts on this by now.
As our channel artist and cut all contact with him. Admittedly, it took longer than it should have. In retrospect, we should have done this immediately when Lex told us, but we were scared of confrontation and cowardly and did not know how to handle this type of situation, and we handled it poorly. The bottom line is it took us longer than it should have, and I just want to extend the biggest apologies to Lex for making her feel like we did not care, like this was not a priority for us. I'm very sorry. I incredibly regret the way it was handled, and I wish that I could do it over, but I can't, and I'm sorry for that. Lex also brought up an instance where she went to go stay at the office and Dawn was there. This was a complete accident and misunderstanding on my end. It is completely my fault. I did not mean for that to happen, and I take full responsibility for that. I had been fed up with Dawn staying with me, especially after hearing what Lex had told me, and Lex had not arrived in town yet. At the time, I also had 2 or 3 people staying with me on top of Dawn, and I felt really overwhelmed. I had a lot going on in my personal life at the time that was stressing me out, and I felt overwhelmed, and I sent Dawn to go stay with Rav at the office. I made a mistake where I forgot that I had previously told Lex that she could stay there, and I sent Dawn there to get out of my house. I never intended for them to come in contact with each other. As soon as I realized my mistake, I told Dawn.
Actually, Matt, I'm not really mad at you, but I gotta say, this is kind of messed up. Wish you told me at least yesterday. I didn't know until a few hours ago. I'm sorry, man. I'm trying to scramble around like 5 people right now, trying my best here. God, I honestly, the person I feel bad for is Don, man. His reputation in tatters. No one's on his side. No one involved is on his side. You know, he's just being decried off purely off the testimony of a single person is being fucking, you know, cast aside. Oh, bad fucking dad. Well, anyway, you can see here, yeah, clearly, like, Don is not happy about the situation either.
Donnie had to leave the office, and for a little more context, here is me having to...
Yeah, and I've got enough going on my end to babysit him Lamau, he'll live. Dude, that's exactly how I felt and why I sent him to the office. And when I forgot I told Lex she could crash there, I felt like I was babysitting him. And I was mad about what was going on. Yeah, and he's a whole grown-ass man. I still need to talk to Lex. I haven't got a good chance yet. We can't all keep big brothering him forever. Oh, true. I'm sure she would really appreciate that.
Discussion with Rav where I'm realizing my mistake. Bottom line is, Lex, I am sorry that I created that situation and put you in it. It never should have happened, and my stupid fried brain let it happen, and there's no excuse for that. Overall, Ryan and I should...
But again, the thing to bear in mind with this is that in Lex's tale, this was all painted as them making efforts to, like, cover it up or, like, be in totality on Don's side with all of this, where quite clearly, you know, when pressed on it, they did kind of cut him off. And some of this stuff was clearly like a mistake on his part, where he'd sent Don to go to the office, not thought about the fact Lex was going, has got a lot going on, and then had to desperately try and manage the situation, you know, when everyone is then kind of pissed off with him.
Could have handled the Don situation completely differently. We absolutely recognize where we failed, and we take full accountability for that. I also want to address a very large chunk of Lex's video that was focused on her and Rav's time living at our office, aka...
Okay, am I crazy? Am I reading too much into things? Or am I getting little... Listen.
That was ability for that. I also want to address a very large chunk of Lex's video that...
I also want to address a very large chunk of Lex's video. Like, to me, it seems like he can't say it explicitly because he'll get torn to shreds. But it sounds like he's saying, like, yeah, a lot of your video is dedicated to this, wasn't it? It's a bit of a like discreet dig. Am I crazy? Am I the only one like reading that into it?
That was focused on her and Rav's time living at our office, aka the SuperMega Plex. Rav was coming to America and he needed somewhere to crash, so we told him he could crash at the SuperMega Plex while he gets his feet off the ground, and later when Lex came out to LA, we said that she could crash there as well too. And, you know, her and Rav were friends, so it was all good. We, of course, initially had no issue with this, and we were happy to let them stay at the office. But problems did arise over time. And generally speaking, something I think all four of us can agree on is that the thing that really plagued the situation was lack of communication, miscommunication. As time went on and weeks turned into months of them staying at the office,
I am just correct, okay? I'm telling you, people are being so mad at me for some of my takes. I'm just correct about all of this shit, okay? I'm fucking telling you. My read on this from day dot was correct. I didn't know the exact time frame. Now I'm finding out it's months. Exactly like I fucking said, all my other coverage on this. Exactly how I've painted it. He's probably going to do it in a soft way. But I'm on the fucking money with this, I'm telling you, okay?
we were unsure of their plans and how motivated they were to actually find a place to move into. They believed that we were ignoring them and acting cold, while we believed they were doing the same thing to us. So it was like a two-way street of awkwardness. And something to point out is when we came into the office, it would be to get work done. So it wasn't to come in to hang out, it'd be to get work done. So it definitely seemed a little more clinical. All around, it was a pretty weird vibe, and I think all four of us could have acted more mature during that period, but we failed to communicate. And that is largely on myself and Ryan, because after tensions rose, we honestly didn't really feel like having a conversation. Here's a text from Lex in a group chat acknowledging that they had been, distant towards.
I've also contributed to not being available though, because I've tried to stay out of both your way as much as possible and keep my focus on work, which probably came across as fucking off and not wanting to talk to you all, and I apologize for that. I think I was also trying to be less present because I was worried I was distracting you guys from work a lot of the time at the Plex by being in the way already with me and my stuff. And I didn't want to be any more of a burden than I already felt like, but I think it just made me seem more aloof than anything. I'm sorry we weren't able to talk about it until now. I hate to bring things up this way. I know you all are busy, so I don't expect to be able to talk in person about anything soon. Also, it's not very inviting if you think someone is seeming antagonistic. I'm glad to be able to talk about it now. I just hope that with the nature of texting seeming rather cold, what I'm trying to say is coming across as anything but trying to let you know I've not meant to cause any hurt, and I'm sorry if I did. So let's just recollect, shall we? Based on the different pieces of information that we've got here. So Rav is staying in the office until he gets off his feet in LA. Lex is coming down, same deal. Gets to stay at the office until she gets off of her feet, okay? What should be weeks, normally, turn into months. And in the course of these months, Lex is, they're obviously over time asking about like a house move, and they're coming up with all these reasons and excuses as why it's so difficult to find a place to live, okay? In the meantime, Lex is spending money on Uber Eats, weed, a Jeep, which we looked at earlier. They're going away on trips away, which they claim is for work, but is interpreted as vacations by the SuperMega people. And then weeks turn into months with this kind of behavior happening. Yeah, exactly as I fucking said when I watched the video. Entitled fucking mooching, annoyed at having some sort of pressure put on them. They're obviously going to self-deprecate somewhat on this, and they're going to be like, oh, we should have communicated more. Some of those messages were pretty clear. When they were saying things like, oh, see, you've gone away on vacation again. How's the house move going? Okay. If I got a message like that, I would be like, oh, shit, okay. I mean, I wouldn't be in that situation where I get that message. But if I did, I would be like, okay, they're starting to get a bit mad. It's time for me to start to think about moving out, It's obvious. But certainly, sure, we can say... So, there's definitely still criticism you could even make of SuperMega. They should have given them a date. They should have been more clear. They should have said, look, you can stay here, but you need to be gone within a certain amount of time. I don't want to be harsh, but I need to put a date on it, whatever, right? But that pales in comparison to the fact that on the other side of it, you've got people that are mooching and freeloading a place, living rent-free, not paying any rent, and engaging in what, according to all accounts, seems to be very frivolous spending and trips away. Like, yeah, move out. There we go. Simple, okay? Rather than spending money on expensive, unnecessary purchases, save your money, put it in a pot. Yeah, buying a Jeep. Put a deposit down on a place and move the fuck out. I'm sorry, it is not that difficult to move out in a big city, okay? It ain't that fucking difficult. Also, you've got a fucking Jeep now. You've got a Jeep now. Get a place out in the sticks. You know, travel an hour if you need to get into LA. You'll be able to find a decent place, no problems. Anyway, there we go.
Us. And I'm only bringing this up to add context because in her video, she states that we iced them out and gave them the cold shoulder, but it was a two-way street and it was miscommunication. I'll just go ahead and read these out to make it easier to digest. Lex said, I've also contributed to not being available though because I've tried to stay out of both of your way as much as possible and keep my focus by being in the way. I think it just made this way. If you think some nature of text not meant to cause any hurt, and I'm sorry if I did. We totally understood this and we apologized as well, and I figured we were all on the same page. Here's me explaining why we seemed distant at the office, and this seemed to be understood by Rav and Lex. I'm not going to read all of this because it is too long and I want to move on, but feel
Okay, I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it, guys. In terms of not saying hello or goodbye, it really isn't anything more than just spacing out and being wrapped up in our own worlds. Ryan and I don't even say hey to each other half the time. To all of us, you guys seemed incredibly closed off and quiet, which is totally okay. But when you're being distant and we don't know why, I'm not sure what you expect back from us. As far as we handled this in a corporate head-ass way, you need to understand that this isn't just a friendship issue, but a work issue. You are staying in our place of work. Yes! Oh my god, it's so obvious if anyone knows how the world works. They're staying for free at their place of work and they're not making any meaningful effort to move out and doing frivolous spending. Of course you're going to be a bit pissed off with them. Oh my god. Jim was hired to be able to communicate things for us. Jim had offered to talk to you guys for us since he'd already done it in the past. We were also in a group chat so we could talk too. If you were crashing on my couch at my house, obviously I would talk to you one-on-one, but we saw this as a work-related issue because you're in our office. We're trying our best to run our business. I hope you're able to see where we're coming from. I understand that both of you have been for a ton this year, and I really feel for you. It's been a really shitty year for everyone, and we really do care about you as friends, if that hasn't been obvious with the support we've consistently given you, and I'm sorry that miscommunications have happened. Dude, like, honestly, the entitlement from the Lex and Rav is off the fucking charts.
Free to pause the video and read through it yourself. As time went on, since they were staying at our place of work, our office, we asked our employee Jim to facilitate a conversation between us about when they were planning on leaving. Rav and Lex took this as a slight. They were angered by the corporate aspect of asking Jim to initiate this conversation. Really, it was a work matter for us because they were staying at our place of work, and Jim is good at this type of conversation. So we had him create a group chat that myself and Ryan were in so we could also chime in if needed and let him kind of like direct the conversation, but this did upset them. Shortly after, they made the decision to voluntarily leave the office. We did not throw them out. We did not make them homeless. Here is a text message where
yes, okay, I'm glad they're pushing back against something at least in all of this. Holy fuck.
they're talking about leaving the office. Rav says, but yeah, y'all have certainly gone above and beyond with your generosity and allowing us to crash for as long as y'all have, and we'd hate to overstay our welcome any further than we already have. All of our stuff, with the exception of my 2 suitcases in the corner of y'all's living room space, should currently be in the garage, and when we're back, what we can do is move all of our said stuff into a proper storage space under lock and key somewhere away from the office, so as to not keep taking up y'all's workspace. We'll also stop crashing at the office, so no worries on that front either. If y'all have any other concerns, let me know. Thank you for letting us crash for mad long, and sorry for not getting out of y'all's hair sooner. Lex stated that we did not allow them to come pick their stuff up, which is not true. Here's a text between us on September 4th where she said, hey, sorry to bother you, just wanted to check in to ask if I could grab some of my stuff from the office. We'll be shooting some pics/videos today at an abandoned water park a couple hours away, so I wanted to grab my camera and Amazon stuff I got sent there. Hope you're doing okay today. I said, yeah, that's fine. I'm not sure if anyone is there though. She texted me 2 days later saying, ended up not coming over when I mentioned LOL. Would any time today be a good time to stop by and grab some stuff? I can come by myself. I said, yeah, I think Jim will be there for a while. Text him just to be sure. I just bounced and just saw this. She then said, coordinated with Jim. Thank you. I just left a little bit ago. I grabbed everything and threw away a lot of stuff that was in/around the garage. Thank you so much for letting us stay there. I hope you're having a good night. I said, thank you, take care. What's y'all's plan right now? She replied with, gonna stay at an Airbnb to work at while figuring out a living situation. After they left, things did seem tense for a little bit, but they seemed to subside. I rekindled things.
So, yeah, I mean, she obviously showed some of these DMs, I believe, but presented it in a very different fashion. And to me, it's exactly, I mean, yes, absolutely. It does seem that this person, when they went out of their way to help her, to give her a place to stay, it was their place of work. They outstayed their welcome. They didn't actually try and meaningfully find a place making frivolous purchases. It came to a head. And even then, they were still very nice about it and tried to facilitate them getting their stuff and so on and so on and so on. Yeah, it is a case of no good deed goes unpunished. Well, the trouble is, obviously, you know, I don't feel, you know, I think anyone with two brain cells rubbed together can figure this out, right? I'm certainly not the only person that looked at this and sort of came to the same conclusions I did. It's just bitterly disappointing to me that Don is just been completely kind of thrown under the bus. I didn't expect them to come out and make any sort of meaningful defense of him. It was the most obvious play for them to just go, oh, yeah, well, when we found out he did it, we got rid of him. We could have handled it better. That was the most, you know, of course. But I'm glad at the very least, they're at least pushing back against, like, the entitlement, the absolute sheer entitlement and mooching of Lex, you know? He's obviously having to do it in quite a soft fashion. You know, I'm sure, I guarantee you, behind the scenes, they are probably fucking spitting feathers about this. They have to be very measured about it. But there's little signs, right? There's little signs. Like when he goes, oh yeah, the big portion of the video that was about it. Clearly he's sort of alluding to there, like, you spent a lot of time talking about this when we did you a fucking, you know, we did you pretty well, you know?
With Rav several months later. We spoke about the last summer and how we were all in bad places and it was awkward. Rav and I, you know, apologized to each other and made up. We did this at my house as well as a little discussion at Creator Clash 2023, which again is why I found myself very confused when Rav said what he did on Twitter recently. If he still felt that way, I wish that he had reached out to me. And since last summer, I assumed that my relationship with Lex was much better. For example, here's several texts I received from Lex between November of last year and February of this year. Good luck tonight.
Oh, let's go! Destroy her! In a very sorry way. Let's go, based. I love it. I fucking love it. More receipts. Good luck tonight, Matt. I'm in Nashville, but I'd like to try to come to a show before tour is over. We should have a cookout when we're all back in town to celebrate. Thank you. We'll party hard soon. Guess who lives like 5 minutes away from you now? It's me. Hope you're having a good day. No way, for real. Where at? Are you standing outside my door?
Matt, heart emoji. I'm in Nashville, but I'd like to try to come to a show before tour is over. We should have a cookout when we're all back in town to celebrate. I said, thank you. We'll party hardy soon.
Bear in mind, she painted this as like, you know, it was very bitter and they left and they were left homeless. They were in a motel and it was really bad and they really struggled to get their stuff back and it was really tense and horrible. Oh my God.
On December 17th, guess who lives like 5 minutes away from you now? It's me. Hope you're having a good day. I say, no way. For real? Where at? Are you standing outside my door? She hit me up a couple days later, said, what are you doing? I said, I'm back in Charleston right now. What about you? Then she hit me up the next day, said, I got really stoned and forgot to reply, LMAO. I hope you have a good time.
Oh my God.
With your family. Also, congrats on 1 mil. The next day I replied and said, thank you. Then on my birthday, she texted me, "Happy birthday, Matt. I love you. Hope your day is great." I thought that after my birthday, she texted
I'm in town hanging with Ethan, and I told him about the nuke and just realized that happened on your birthday.
me, "Happy birthday, Matt. I love you. Hope your day is great." I thought that after I apologized to her last July, things had smoothed out, and I think you could see why I would think that. But that communication ceased around the time that we fired Leighton, who is a close friend of hers. So,
Oh! Okay, right. Now it's starting to come together, isn't it? Now it's starting to come together. Leighton gets fired. Leighton gets fired, okay? She's pally-pally with him up until that point. Her friend gets fired. And then, what can we do about that? Let's fucking shit on SuperMega. Let's put together a fucking hit piece. We'll front load it with my sexual assault in order to make the medicine go down nice and fucking good. Oh my god, it's all so fucking obvious now. It's just clicked in my head exactly what's happened here, man. It's so fucking obvious what's going on, isn't it? Bearing in mind, Leighton, one of his claims is he himself has walked back, and the second claim the other guy has strongly pushed back against too. Oh my god. Trauma! Boom! Cancel SuperMega because they wronged my friend. The story is complete. The puzzle comes together finally. Jesus Christ, man. Unbelievable. God, what a manipulative bitch.
this next stuff is stuff that I don't really feel comfortable talking about, but it was brought up, so I have to address it. The first thing is that in her video, Lex accused me of calling my friend Daniel, who passed away from suicide in 2015, a coward on multiple occasions. This really hurt to hear because this is simply untrue. I have no recollection of ever opening up to Lex about my friend's suicide. And if I ever did open up to her about it, I know that I would never have referred to him in the manner that she portrayed. That experience affected me and Ryan more than anything has ever affected us in our lives, and it's something that we're still recovering from. And if you've dealt with suicide, you know that grief is different for each person, and you know that there are a lot of complex and confusing emotions that come with the grief regarding suicide. Some of those include anger, and if I ever expressed that to Lex, which again I firmly believe that I did not, if that's the case, then I find it wildly inappropriate that Lex would use something I said in a very vulnerable state to weaponize and to make me look worse. The second thing is that Lex brought up personal details about my personal relationships and sex life. There was absolutely nothing that warranted divulging that information. It had nothing to do with the main point of the video, and it dragged people into the situation that did not consent to having their...
True. Okay, he's really finding his spine now. Let's go. Based. Very, very, very based and true to that. Go off, King. Okay, this guy's winning me round.
story told to hundreds of thousands of people, and now they are hurting because of that. Anyway, I'm not here to slam Lex. I just wanted to address those 2 points because I felt that they were important to address. At the end of the day, I just want to apologize to Lex for how the situation was handled. Again, I wish that I could do the entire situation over. I wish I could remove any pain that I caused, and I wish that I had been a better friend. Normally, this is where I would end the video, but unfortunately, there was a lot more that needs to be addressed. So I was just talking about personal details being unnecessarily mentioned and weaponized to make me look worse, and unfortunately, more people have jumped on that bandwagon. One of those people being Morgan, aka Morg Pie. For some background,
let's go! Let's go! Destroyer! Destroy, destroy, destroy! By the way, I don't know if I floated this take on Twitch. I might have said it on YouTube, right? Okay. I got called an incel by some for this, right? I am very cynical about this concept that a woman getting fuckboyed, you know, has any reason to come forward publicly with that sort of thing when she gets fucked for cash anyway. Call me an incel if you like, okay? But I'm pretty wedded to that take. I'm pretty fucking wedded to that take now. Anyway, I doubt that's the direction he's going to go in, but let's see what he's got to say.
In August 2022, when I was single and in between relationships. I sexted with her for one night and ultimately slept with her for 2 nights in September when she was visiting Los Angeles. During our hookups, I explicitly stated to Morgan that this was a hookup and that I had just gotten out of a relationship and I was not looking for anything, and this is something she acknowledged. I actually brought this up more than once. After she left LA to go back home, I could tell that she had caught some feelings and I did not want to lead her on, so I began to kind of distance myself. Shortly after, I also ended up working through a rough patch and started dating my current girlfriend, and I talked to Morgan even less after this. We stopped.
Oh my God, more juicy receipts. Hey Matt, I have a question for you if you have a sec. Yeah, what's up? I was wondering if you're interested in hanging out again. I'm planning another LA trip at the beginning of next month to see some people I missed last time. I know you're kind of going through it right now, so I don't want to pressure you or anything. And you can be honest if you're not into me anymore. Yeah, I'm down to hang, but full disclosure, I've been working things out with blank this week, so it would just be hanging as friends and not a friends with benefits. I like hanging with you a lot.
To Chud Nation.
Chewy Dingus, thank you for the sub. Well, that actually makes a lot of sense. Oh, FPS Diesel, thank you for the Prime sub. Sorry, I missed that. Thank you. Appreciate that. The thing is, that makes a lot of sense. Because, like, if they fucked before, it makes more sense that nothing was happening. And now something is happening, so he's making it clear, hey, we can't fuck because I'm working things out with this other woman. That makes a lot of sense. Women aren't used to rejection like this. True. Reject a woman and look what happens. Damn, okay, lol. Sorry, a lot's been happening, but I really like you and want to hang. Okay, sweet. I'm thinking of coming around the 1st or the 4th. I'd love to see you as friends. They sexted when he was between relationships, apparently. Then they fucked. So then they fucked, okay. And then that was it. And he apparently made it clear it was just a fuck. Then later, she reaches out again. And quite clearly here, like, there's no pretense of a pre-existing relationship. This sounds like we hung out before, we fucked, it was good, we should hang out again and fuck. And he's putting that boundary in place of, well, I can't fuck you because I've got a partner or whatever, working it through, but I'd still love to see you. And she agrees to it. Okay, well, that's good to hear. At least there's some sense left in the world, eh? Anyway, what has he done wrong in this situation at all? Like, tell me what he's done wrong. I've got to be honest with you, okay? Even if he's cheated, it's like, whatever. Like, it's not a nice thing to do, but it's still a private affair. It seems like he's engaged with this in a totally fair, totally reasonable way. Unless she's got some receipts to prove otherwise. I mean, this all kind of adds up. His story makes sense. I don't know.
Communication. I didn't feel like it was appropriate to, be talking to someone who the relationship I had was primarily sexual while I had a girlfriend. We pretty much lost all contact after I started dating my current girlfriend, and I figured that was normal, and that's kind of just what is the typical life cycle of a hookup.
Yes, absolutely it is. Like, obviously, if you've hooked up with someone and then you get a girlfriend, it's a bit like shitty, isn't it? To keep talking to hookups you've had. And I'm sure, like, maybe the girlfriend has got to say, but you wouldn't do that, would you? You'd fucking be like, okay, I'm with someone now. I better not be messing about, because there's always, like, room, isn't there, for, things to happen potentially. So it's best just to cut it off completely. It's not like it's a friend or something. This is someone you've had your fucking penis inside. Yeah. It's probably not worth continuing on an ongoing conversation with someone that you've had sex with, and that's all you've had when you've got a girlfriend. That's like the opposite of cheating. Man.
I was very surprised to hear what Morgan had to say on stream, considering last month in June, we had a very pleasant conversation where we tied up any loose ends and smoothed everything out. And I'm going to share that conversation. Morgan reached out to me on June 8th and said, "Hey, Matt, hope you're doing well." I said, "Hey, I've been doing okay. Been really busy and stressed, but I'm pushing through. How have you been?" She said, "Oh man, me too. Supremely stressed, but I'm coming to LA this month and I'll be doing so much cool shit, so I'm excited. Glad to hear you're pushing through." I said, "I'm just kind of exhausted with tour coming up and stuff, but I'll be okay. I've been doing therapy a lot, which has been super helpful, and glad to hear you're doing cool shit." She replies with, "Oh, I'm so happy to hear therapy has been helping. I've had mixed results with that. Great when it actually works out." She replies,
Okay. People are mad at me for this take, okay? But this is a woman who has sex on camera for money. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, that's wonderful. But how do I make money off depressed people?
I'm a father of two myself, Chud. Thank you for bullying children on behalf of us fellas that can't bully our own for moral or legal reasons. You're providing a vital service.
Thank you for the $100, Jimberly. That's very generous. Thank you. I very much appreciate that. Super generous of you. Thank you. Okay. Am I supposed to believe that this woman that, like, fucks for cash in porno, right, was so heartbroken and so wronged by this guy that she had to tell a story publicly? Give me a fucking break, okay? Genuinely, I know it comes across badly sometimes. I'm not a misogynist, really, okay? I'm not against porno women or whatever. Good luck to you, okay? But it's a bit fucking rich. For some fucking porn star to be crying foul about getting treated like a fuckboy. When, by the way, I said this guy seemed like a fuckboy. I feel like maybe I've slandered him. I don't even know if he's a fuckboy. It seems like he was between relationships and he fucked someone, which you're allowed to do, by the way. And also, clearly these messages demonstrate they had a good backwards and forwards after that happened too. But now we're supposed to believe that this guy treated Morgue Pie so badly that she's going to come out with some public story to attach to the other fucking bullshit that's being thrown their way. No fucking way, man. It's complete fucking nonsense. I'm telling you, man. This fucking bitch was criticizing my coverage, okay? I don't give a shit, right? I don't give a fucking shit. You are a fucking whore. You're a whore. It's simple as that. It literally is as simple as that, okay? If I'm interested in the opinion of a whore, I'll let you know. Until then, don't fucking care.
With, yeah, man, I'm excited, but yeah, just thought I'd check up on you because even though things got a little weird, I'll always care about you, dude. Hope you have a great tour too. Okay. I respond with, I appreciate it, and I'm sorry things got a little weird. I'm not very good at navigating stuff, and when I got in a relationship shortly after, I wasn't sure how to not be awkward about it. I care about you too, and I don't feel weird at all about things or about you. She said, yeah, I kind of know what happened, LOL, people talk, but cool, man, I'm glad things aren't weird. I said, same, glad it's not weird. I feel a lot better now, LOL. She said, me too.
What has she possibly got to complain about? What possible thing can she fucking complain about? There's literally nothing. He has treated her like a fucking gentleman, okay? He has treated this fucking porno star like an absolute gentleman. He's been a gentleman about this whole thing, okay? He's fooled around between relationships, according to him. Don't know what's true on that, by the way, but nonetheless, whatever the case may be. She's then sought out another sexual interaction. He's turned it down politely and said, sorry, I'm seeing someone, but let's still hang out as friends. And following that, there's been some discussion to smooth things over further. And now she gets to come forward and what? Act like she got fucking, how did she describe it even? God, it's so disgusting, man. And again, people just believe this person. They just, but I don't think she said that she was raped, to be fair. But people just believed everything this woman said about the situation without considering that maybe there's another side to the story. Fuck me, man. It's just, if you're a man in these circumstances, the deck is stacked against you, basically, okay? Unfortunately, in circumstances like Don's situation, it's too much. You are fucked, okay? You're going to be holding the bag on that situation, and he has fucking been nuked from orbit from every angle. Feel bad for the guy. In this case, it's like he's fortunately got these receipts where he can back his story up and sort of say, actually, it's not quite how it was painted, But even that isn't going to be enough. Even this isn't going to be adequate to convince some people. Some people are still going to think that Matt did something wrong in this situation, despite the fact that, based on what I can see here, it seems like he handled everything pretty well. None of this should have been public anyway. No one's business. This is all personal shit. Oh my God. Wait, there's more. Actually, that's true. We're only 26 minutes. We're only halfway through the video. Wait. We should keep going. What's going on?
I hate loose ends. And I said, same, they bother me so much, LOL. And for clarity, I never felt bad or negative about you. I just didn't know how to not be awkward after a hookup. I'm not really a hookup person, especially since I'm in a relationship now. Sorry for my awkwardness. Glad we're all good. Morgan replies with, yeah, I felt a bit sour about it, TBH, because I'm not really a hookup person either. Loki caught me with some feels and I felt pretty used afterwards. But shit happens and that's on me, so I don't harbor any ill will towards you. I mean, I didn't...
She says that in the messages here, only a couple of months later to come out publicly to talk about it, about how fucking wrong she is. Fuck me. Despicable. Fucking despicable woman.
Expect a relationship or anything, but yeah, LOL. I responded with, I feel ya, and I'm sorry for acting in any way that made you feel used. That was never my intention, and I'm just kind of awkward with this stuff. I could tell a little that you were catching feels, and I didn't want to lead you on and hurt you. Morgan said, I really appreciate that.
What more could this guy have done in this circumstance? Are you fucking serious?
I'm just a big baby, and when I open myself up like that to someone, it's because I'm really into them, contrary to what my profession may lead you to think. But I'm glad we could talk about this. I appreciate you talking about this with me, even though you aren't obligated to at all. I said, of course, I'm really glad we're talking about it too, because I didn't like feeling awkward or having a loose end. And she said, yeah, same. W. I respond with a cool sunglasses smiley face, and that was the last time we talked. So you could see why I was a bit...
This dude has acted fantastically. What more could you possibly want from someone after the fact, reaching out to talk about it and giving space for the woman to like get an apology and fucking, you know, state her case about it? The gentleman fuckboy. The gentleman fuckboy. The way it was painted from her end is like he was cheating on her, led her on, and then fucked off. Give me a fucking break, will you?
Bit surprised when Morgan went on stream and said what she said. Morgan not only brought my current girlfriend into the situation on stream without her consent, she also name dropped my girlfriend and revealed that we were in a relationship, which was not public information. I'm very private about my relationships, so this was a big blow. Morgan also...
Oh my God, so the relationship isn't even public. I know some people get a bit funny about this, but like, I hope people can understand that if you're in any way like a public figure, you got a platform, having your relationship out there is generally like going to be bad for you, because people are going to talk about and scrutinize your relationship, right? It's something that I would never want to happen. So I try and, you know, keep any of that kind of stuff private as best I can. But like, she's now basically... Okay, let's reverse the roles here. Should we just reverse the roles for a second, okay? Let's say that a man had come out and said the same thing about what a woman had done and how he'd been led on and this kind of stuff, and revealed that she was in a relationship with someone that no one knew about at the time or was private information. What do you think the response to that would be exactly? What do you think the response to that would be? Dude. The amount of people automatically choosing to blindly believe Matt says a lot about how they probably never wanted to believe Leighton in the first place. I think you should blindly believe the person on my side. You should not blindly believe the person on the other side. Fucking ridiculous. God, there's more. Let's keep going.
Also brought my ex-girlfriend into the picture without her consent and has strongly hurt her because of this. She lied about conversations with my ex-girlfriend. She wrongly stated that I had been having a multiple-month affair with my current girlfriend while I was dating my ex-girlfriend. She lied that we had been consistently sexting when we only sexted for one night in August, and I have all of our text messages to prove that. She also lied about not knowing who my current girlfriend was, because she did know who that was and she used it as a segue to name drop her. She also falsely claimed that I was cheating on my current girlfriend, which is not true. And for transparency, on day one of me dating my girlfriend, I informed her that I had recently slept with Morgan, and she told me it was not an issue. Following when I had that text conversation with Morgan in June where we smoothed things over, Morgan began hanging out with our ex-employee Leighton more, and I have not heard from her since that conversation until I saw her.
There it is! There it fucking is! This is all about Leighton getting fired. They have pieced together, they've colluded together to piece together a fucking joint hit piece against SuperMega because Leighton was allegedly treated badly. It's so obvious. It's so obvious what's happened here.
Her stream. Now, if you're wondering why I'm bringing up Leighton again, I'm going to explain. A former employee of SuperMega named Leighton Stollard has made some very serious accusations against me and Ryan. I did not plan on, nor did I want to make a segment of this video based around this, but after everything Leighton has said about us publicly, I feel that I have no choice but to respond and give my side of the story and show receipts. We fired Leighton from working at SuperMega in March 2023, and since then, he has led a vindictive campaign to cancel us, to deplatform us, to ruin our image. Basically, we were not happy with his performance. He had been causing problems with his mood swings and outbursts at the office, as well.
Oh my goodness, Thank you for putting this in here. This is what we've been waiting for, okay? At least someone's getting fucking burnt in this that deserves to.
Well as a general performance that we didn't like, we made the difficult decision to let him go. Leighton himself actually suggested leaving SuperMega prior to being terminated. So when he stated on stream that we were looking for any reason to fire him, this simply isn't true. Here is a text he sent to me and Ryan in the week leading up to his termination. I'm sorry I messed up so much with my position. It's not being harsh. I know it's the both of your company, and all of this makes the two of you look bad. I could step away from the merch stuff if you guys feel like I'm not doing enough for the role. I'm sorry I've messed up so much. I'm really from the merch stuff.
I put in orders for multiple mods. I had to wait on some reply. I forgot about a few of them. I'm sorry I messed up this position. No one else is messing up as much as I am. Well. What's this, Leighton? Leighton, what's this? You painted a very tall tale of terrible abuse and stuff like... Seems like maybe you weren't very fucking good at your job. You got let go and then you had a fucking axe to grind.
If you guys feel like I'm not doing enough for the role, I'm sorry I've messed up so much. I'm really sorry to the both of you that I've caused so many internal issues plus public issues. No one else is messing up as much as I am, and especially when there's only 6 of us, I'm sure it really shows. I 100% understand if you guys are ready for me to leave SuperMega and let someone else take care of my responsibilities. It's not fair to you two that I keep screwing up. I feel like I'm the new Jackson causing massive issues to the company rather than being an asset. I don't know if my role is worth saving anymore, but I'm willing to transfer to working from home or any other option so I can focus on the merch. I'm sorry I've put you two through so much stress in the past 2 years. So yes, as you can see, Leighton was aware of his performance and the issues that were taking place with his job, and we were not looking for any reason to fire him. We did not want to fire him. Leighton's position fell under the classification of at-will employment in California. This means that we are able to fire him at any time for any reason. This does not include severance. However, we felt bad because this is not an ideal situation. So we decided to give him severance when he left. Severance is a...
Oh my God. So he was self-admittedly bad at his job. It's an at-will state. They didn't have to do anything. They could have just let him go. But they also offered him, I believe, 2 months pay. Oh, this dude got off fucking crazy good. No way, man. Leighton's getting burnt. Let's go.
A very legal matter, which we didn't realize. It's not as easy as just writing a check and giving it to someone on the way out the door. We essentially had to contract an employment attorney specifically to do this. Here's an email with our lawyer explaining that. We gave Leighton $12,000 to do this.
I'm very sorry to hear this. Severance is a very unique beast. I just heard that. We'll get to that. Severance is a very unique beast and has several procedural requirements. I would advise retaining an attorney who specializes in labor and employment to guide you through the process. I have an attorney, if you want, I'll introduce you.
Here's an email with our lawyer explaining that. We gave Leighton $12,000 in severance, which he admitted on stream he wasn't even supposed to get.
$12,000 that they didn't even have to give to him. That is insane. He got paid $12,000 severance. That's 2 months. I believe, well, I think Leighton claimed it was 2 months. On an at-will job. Didn't have to do it. They gave him 12 grand.
Technically, but was still offended that it was only $12,000. For reference, in California, a typical severance package consists of 1 week's pay for every year the employee was with the company. We gave Leighton 2 months of pay and told him that he could dictate the narrative of his departure, that
After 2 years of moving on to SuperMega, we'll miss you, baby boy. We're blocked.
we would not tell people he was fired, and that we would always be here for him in any way that he might need. He signed the severance agreement, stormed out, and immediately blocked us on everything.
What's this? What's this? Wow, that Chud Logic guy was 100% right. Man, maybe he's not a paedophile. Wait, what? Wait, what? Why is that even in question in the first place? Oh my god. Well. Well, well, well. Guys, I'm telling you. I'm telling you guys. We all knew. Listen, it's not, this is very easy to piece together looking at all the information if you're not a total fucking retardo. Like, it all fits in so nicely, doesn't it? You know, some of it maybe requires a bit of a leap, perhaps, but it's pretty reasonable leaps. And someone just pointed out in chat, actually, that I just want to say. So Lex goes live with her video, releases her video about the situation, a large portion of which is attacking SuperMega off the back of apparently not dealing adequately with these sexual assault claims, and then talking about how bad they were treating her when she was living there for free for months, okay? Following that video, Morgue Pie goes live. In the course of the video, Lex talks about, you know, oh, well, the other person might have their story to tell, but it's their story to tell, so they can do it. Morgue Pie goes live, right? And then what? The next day, Leighton goes live with his story. And they're all friends. Very curious series of events, isn't it? I wonder if it was totally fucking random. Who knows? I guess we'll never know.
We were concerned at this point because in the months prior, someone who had been with Leighton and a group of his friends told us that he had been flaunting that if things ever went south with us, he could just easily cancel us. We actually brought this up to Leighton in a meeting that a reliable source had told us this. He swore that he never said that, and he swore that he would never do that. We were still wary after that because that actually wasn't the first time we had heard that from someone. So fast forward to Creator Clash 2023. On the day me and Ryan returned home, Leighton took to Twitter to accuse us of homophobia. We responded to Leighton and provided more context to situations that he had left context out of. We also provided people with the information that he not only propagated a lot of the jokes that he claimed to be offended by, but he participated in the jokes. He even encouraged them. We always wanted Leighton to feel comfortable even when we were making jokes. We never wanted him to feel targeted with any jokes. His tone changed completely the moment he was fired. And as proof of that, here are screenshots from several occasions where I made sure Leighton was comfortable with these types of jokes.
Oh no. We got to Leighton! Leighton, what's this? What's this, Leighton? What's going on? Haha, nah, man, we love you. We're so fucking excited to move with you into the rest of 2021, 22, 23 and onward. We always got your back, whatever you need, also financially. Also legit, if we're making too many gay jokes, please tell me. We're always fucking kidding, but if it gets too much, haha. I'm so excited to put everything into SuperMega. Also legit, if, you sound like a right now. What? Why would you not say? He's making it like obvious. Hey, if you don't like the jokes, let us know and we'll cut them out. And he's engaging with it. He's egging them on. Oh my God. Okay, perfect response. I've never felt more at home with a job. Real talk, we absolutely love having you as part of SuperMega. You've completely revolutionized our company. I love all the gay jokes you guys throw at me. You're a crucial member now. If they're ever too much, though, just tell us. I'm so fucking happy to hear that. For some reason, it felt weird when Justin would do them, lol. I fucking love working with you guys. Oh, no, Leighton. Uh-oh. The chickens are coming home to roost. And they're gay.
To which he always replied yes, and even in one message said it would be weird if we stopped. In this message, Leighton says he sees no issues with the jokes. Here he says he feels more comfortable around us than anyone. And I said, real talk, we absolutely love having you as a part of SuperMega. You've completely revolutionized our company. Leighton responds by saying, I love all the gay jokes you guys throw at me. And I said, you're a crucial member now. If they're ever too much, though, just tell us. And he said, I'm so fucking happy to hear that. I fucking love working with you guys. Nah, you guys have never offended me. I think Justin is nervous that it'll come off as homophobic, but I love you guys and the gay jokes. It would be weird if you guys held back, LMAO. I jokingly said, screenshotting all this to cover my ass, which he said LMAO to. Here's another instance where I said, also legit, if we're making too many gay jokes, please tell me. We're always fucking kidding, but I get it if it gets too much, haha. He responded by saying I looked like an F slur. I said, okay, perfect response, LMAO. We're gonna do some awesome shit, man. And he said, I've never felt more at home with a job. This is not to mention the numerous times Ryan and I brought this up in person with him in meetings, making sure he was comfortable with any jokes that were made about sexuality, and he responded with the same sentiment. Something to note is that while Leighton worked at SuperMega, he also accepted and held a full-time position at the merch company which fulfilled our merch. So after Leighton's call-out post and after we posted our response, he was advised by his employer that starting shit publicly with one of the company's bigger clients was a bad look and a horrible business decision. Leighton made an agreement with his employer that he would not cause any further drama, but he was furious that he could not say more. Leighton was extremely disgruntled that we fired him. He felt that it wasn't fair, and he felt like he needed to get even by taking away our platform. I later received anonymous screenshots that were leaked from a Discord server that's just dedicated to hating on SuperMega, the members of which created and spread horrible lies about my ex-girlfriend on Tumblr. They have harassed me for years. Some of them also write underage sexual assault fan fiction. These screenshots detailed the exact situation Leighton was in with his employer. That's how I knew that they were real, because I knew about this agreement, as well as a plan to get other people to speak out against us. So,
oh no, let's go. Leighton works for a big merch company called Blank, which he was working with while before working with SuperMega. And when all the homophobia allegations came out, a big billionaire sponsor of Blank told them that they needed to drop SuperMega as a client and fire Leighton. Blank refused to fire Leighton and still kept SuperMega on as a client. If we can get SuperMega in enough hot water that the sponsor wants to drop them again without getting Leighton fired, then Leighton can come out and say whatever he wants about them. Jesus, the conniving. We just need a piece of gossip that's a big enough deal that a sponsor will want to drop SuperMega. What better piece of gossip than that they covered up a sexual assault? Hey? What about that, hey? What about that? Very curious development here. Our friend is Blank is friends with 2Mad, and 2Mad hates Matt, so we might have some dirt on him. I guess it was before the 2Mad stuff dropped. Most importantly, that Leighton wants to cancel SuperMega, but he needs someone else to come forward first. Oh, who was it that came forward for? Who released the first video? Followed up the next day by Leighton. Oh. Another thing is that Leighton somehow has one of marvelous screenshots of a conversation with Ryan. I was thinking about using that as leverage to cancel them, but it's not enough. And blank, of course, he needs your permission first. Would you be willing to come forward, even anonymously, with your experiences with Ryan?
Leighton would then be free to cancel us himself. The Discord message reads as follows. Leighton works for a big merch company called, I'm going to go ahead and just censor the name, which he was working with while working for SuperMega. And when all the homophobia allegations came out, a big billionaire sponsor for said company told them that they need to drop SuperMega as a client and fire Leighton. Said company refused to fire Leighton and still kept SuperMega on as a client. If we can get SuperMega and enough...
Oh, is it? They're only reading the messages.
Hot water that the sponsor wants to drop them again without getting Leighton fired, then Leighton can come out and say whatever he wants about them. We just need a piece of gossip that's a big enough deal that a sponsor will want to drop SuperMega. Our friend is friends with Too Mad, and Too Mad hates Matt, so he might have some dirt on him. Then another message reads, most importantly, that Leighton wants to cancel SuperMega, but he needs someone else to come forward first. Another thing is that Leighton somehow has one of Marvelous' screenshots of her conversations with Ryan, and was thinking about using that as leverage to cancel him, but it's not enough.
So this is quite clever, because if you can put two and two together, right? Clearly this adds, so what this does is absolutely make it seem like that initial stream from Lex is perhaps part of this plan. Obviously there's no proof of that, right? So they're, in a way, like speaking out against Lex without directly criticizing her. Do you see what I mean? This is very clever on their part. So they're not actually attacking her. They're still, defending themselves from this idea that they're attacking a sexual assault victim or something. But they're laying it on quite thick, so you can put the pieces together potentially.
And Discord user, of course he needs your permission first. Will you be willing to come forward, even anonymously, with your experiences with Ryan? This is all from April, right after Leighton made his initial statement. And because I wondered if I'd ever have to use this, I emailed this to myself as evidence, which you can see in this video. I am opening up the email and showing the date as proof. We worried that this would be the case, and it soon proved true. Shortly after, one of Leighton's best friends, who is Lex's boyfriend, tried to instigate drama on Twitter by lying and saying that he has heard us say the N-word multiple times. In reality, we've only met this individual a handful of times, and it's mostly been at social events and always accompanied by Lex. So to think that we would just casually be dropping the N-word with a hard R in front of not only someone who's a stranger, but also a woman of color, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. He also mentioned the Chuck E. Cheese joke, and I don't think it's a coincidence that a short time before he posted this stuff, Leighton replied to a tweet about SuperMega with a gif of Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh, hello. Very interesting, very interesting.
Leighton denied that he even knew his friend was going to say anything or that Leighton was involved with this, but I think it's a little too coincidental. That didn't really go anywhere, and then after that, things were relatively quiet for a while. Leighton would frequently slander myself and Ryan to fans on his Discord server. He even went as far as to join a fan's 18-year-old birthday drunken Twitter space to shit-talk us. This stuff was creeping us out. He was obsessed with us and wouldn't leave us alone. And at this point, we were fully expecting more of Leighton's close friends to eventually speak out about us for one reason or another, and now a lot of them have. Now, I want to make something very clear. I am not downplaying Lex's situation with Dawn or her coming forward with that.
Ooh.
I am in no way saying that her coming forward with the Dawn situation is a ploy by Leighton to get us canceled. I think it's very brave that Lex came forward, and I am not contributing that to Leighton.
Don't worry about it. I'll say it. It 100% was a ploy. I know he can't say it, okay? He can't say it, obviously. I can, though. Yes, it was, okay? Yes, it absolutely fucking was. 100%. 100%. This is exactly what it is. It makes perfect sense. Make it make sense otherwise, right? Lex's video was like 20 minutes talking about the sexual assault, and then everything else was about how bad SuperMega was. Morgue Pie comes out with her anti-SuperMega shit. And then Leighton comes out the next day with his anti-SuperMega video. Yeah, okay, sure. No, that was... Come on. It makes too much fucking sense. Okay, listen, I know that you want him to go ballistic, but from his perspective, obviously he can't, like... You've got to understand. I have been called all sorts of names, told to kill myself, the lot, because I've pushed back against her narrative, okay? That's me, an outsider. If he did that, he'd get torn to shreds. He has to play this game. It's the only way. But I can fucking say it because it's true. It's obvious.
That was poorly handled by me and Ryan, and we take full responsibility. However, there's a lot of other stuff that I think the dots can be connected. But after Lex came forward, Leighton wasted no time to go to Twitter to make her story about himself and to jump on the opportunity to air out his personal grievances with us. People on Twitter even noticed this, and they were quick to call it out. He finally had the freedom to exaggerate, misrepresent, and flat out lie about myself, Ryan, our friends, our partners, and our company. He did a 3-hour stream, so I'm not going to go into every point, obviously. It seems that he tried to throw anything and everything he possibly could think of at the wall to see what...
Yes! That's what I fucking said. I even said, but I mean, maybe I was totally wrong about thinking any of it was true. You know, it could be that none of it was all bullshit. Maybe there was some stuff he genuinely had issue with. Who fucking knows? But like, definitely it seemed like he was just trying to get like a bucket of mud and just fucking slop it over them as best he can. And every single possible issue he had with the business, he was trying to like litigate out, you know? But yeah. Did you see Leighton's VOD? Yeah, I watched it on stream. I responded to it.
Would stick. I think that's pretty obvious and telling of his true motive here. So let me start off by Leighton once again stating that Ryan and I don't care about suicide, and we would frequently make jokes about our friend Daniel committing suicide. This is so unbelievably offensive and honestly disgusting to me. To weaponize the death of one of our best friends whom he did not even know in a pathetic attempt to smear our names and make us look worse is not only low, but it shows a complete disregard for caring about suicide and mental health, except for when it's convenient to use as an excuse, a crutch, or a weapon. Throughout the stream, Leighton portrays myself and Ryan as horrible monsters who mistreated Rav and Lex and commonly complained about them at the office. While it is true that we had complaints about their extended stay at our office, Leighton was no stranger to complaining about this with us.
Oh no! Uh-oh. Oh no. Let's have a look at this. I mean, if I had a free home, I'd take vacations all the time on that rent money. Leighton's sounding kind of like me. Wait a minute. Leighton's sounding kind of like that guy Chud Logic. What the fuck? Oh no. I told him to be out by mid-August. I had a serious combo about it. What's another month going to hurt or two? We might as well let them stay until Christmas. Jim, why would you make people move out before the holidays? It does seem a bit cruel. I'll give them a talk today. Tell them no more weed until the lease is signed. Very interesting. Very interesting. They'll lose it. Rav just told me they've been loading the car for this trip since 1 a.m. Bro, how is it going to take 10 hours to put a backpack in a car? Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
And there are even texts to show that he was frustrated and complained just as much as us. Leighton also said that we repeatedly made him uncomfortable by exposing ourselves to him around the office. It's true that we did do a lot of crude jackass-style bits around the office, and that's apparent in our videos too. But if Leighton ever felt uncomfortable by any of that, he never showed it, and he never brought it up. I find it a little ironic that he complained about this.
Okay, so... yeah, I'm understanding it a lot better now. So there was definitely like inappropriate things happening, but it seems like Leighton never spoke up about it, right? Okay, that's interesting.
Considering, for example, in December, we were recording a podcast when he came in unannounced and showed us his cock and balls.
In late 20s, Chud. Hey, Leighton.
Hey. Whoa.
Somebody's putting on
Do you
a
see his
show.
balls?
Leighton, you want to come take a seat?
Come
Do you
get-
see
come
his
get over
balls?
here.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Oh no, 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 no. Okay, okay. Yeah, he seemed very pleased to get involved in the festivities at the time, didn't he?
I don't think it's appropriate for the podcast.
Well,
You want
wrap in the
to
towel, wrap in the
wrap
towel.
yourself in a towel.
That is a three-hander. That is a three-hander.
Goddamn,
it is.
Yeah.
He's not lying.
Or before he came around the corner, he stood there for 3 minutes going,
Chuffing his shit.
"You're chuffing it, dude."
He said, lie detector test, I'm completely soft right now. But he looked over and he saw 3 beautiful men sitting down, so who knows?
That's true. Leighton, you know what we're going to do to prove that later? We're going to pants you at a random time.
It's a damn shame no woman.
Well, he showed us his
enjoy
penis.
that.
That is a three-hander. Another huge accusation that he made is that we love to toss around the N-word. I'll admit we make crude jokes behind the scenes, obviously, but we would never drop the N-word. I know our past on YouTube is more questionable. In 2016 to 2017, 2018, during that time period, and I know that a lot of the jokes we made were very questionable and offensive, but now pushing 30, we have grown a lot. And
Yeah, I don't know. I don't buy that, but I don't really care about that either way. That wasn't really the main thing. I want to know about the pissing thing. That's another element to this, I think, that's interesting.
know that that is not acceptable, and that word is never being used between us in any context. To state otherwise is a flat-out dishonest lie, and it's a low-hanging attempt to make us look bad, because honestly, it's really easy. You don't need any proof. You can just say that we said the N-word. The Chuck E. Cheese joke is real, but the joke was that you can't say his middle name. It's a really stupid joke. It's not even funny. The joke is based on the trivia fact where people are like, do you know what Chuck E. Cheese's middle name actually is? What the letter stands for? The joke is that it's such a horrible word, you can't say it, and it's shocking. We have never said the actual word when doing that joke. That's not even funny. And we've even done this joke on the channel in Let's Plays. It's not something we've tried to hide. It's also a very
makes it
old joke.
funny.
I think this was back from the Tucker Brothers era. But again, we have never used the actual N-word when doing that joke. The joke is that you can't say his middle name. Really highbrow humor right there. Leighton also joined in on discussing my personal relationships and my love life. He twisted the truth to make it sound a lot worse. For context and honesty's sake, I was in a 3-year relationship, and last year I broke that off in a dishonest way. I met and fell for my current girlfriend while I was still in the relationship, and one night while intoxicated on alcohol and shrooms, I confessed my feelings and I kissed her. In the days following, the guilt ate me alive. It ate her alive as well. And I subsequently ended my relationship with my girlfriend of 3 years. It was an absolutely horrible thing to do, and I don't think I'm ever going to forgive myself for that. I put her through a lot of pain and stress, and it's very painful for her to be brought back into it now. Leighton and Morgan also lied. While I was unfaithful that night, I never engaged in a sexual relationship or took it anything beyond kissing until I was in a relationship with my current girlfriend. I know that that doesn't make it better. I just wanted to set the record straight on that. That was the first and last time in my life I've ever done anything like that. It was out of character for me, and being intoxicated is not an excuse. It was shitty. It was scummy. I regret it wholeheartely, but my guilt is not the issue here. The issue is the weight that my ex-girlfriend has to carry of the consequences of my selfish actions. And I am truly sorry to her. So for a year later, for her to be pulled back into the picture without her consent is very painful for her. And while this situation and my actions were scummy, it had nothing to do with anything online or the initial issues raised by Lex about Dawn. And I don't think it was appropriate or necessary to drag both my current girlfriend and my ex-girlfriends into the line of fire. They are both being harassed viciously, and their personal lives are being used as weapons to make me look worse, and I think that's completely unacceptable. I met my current girlfriend in June of 2022. She had no clue about the Dawn situation. She was not connected to the situation at all. It was even stated on Leighton's stream that I had asked Jim to get a house and move in with my current girlfriend so I could sneak over and have sex with her under the guise that I was just meeting up with a coworker. You know, because I live by myself and there's definitely nowhere I could have sex. It's just an absolutely ridiculous, weird claim. Doesn't make sense. Eventually, Leighton ended his monetized stream with a self-promo and immediately took to Twitter to gloat about our downfall. Once again,
Yes, I pointed this out as well. I said, it's really weird that you would have all these troubling things and then you'd be like, huh, look, you've dropped below 1 million subscribers. Very shitty, little, weird, malicious fucking attitude to have. Turns out, yes, it's because that was his fucking goal all along. It wasn't for accountability or something like that. It was to hurt them. He wanted to hurt them and he'd succeeded. Dude. I felt I was even quite generous to Leighton as well in my coverage. There's even some stuff on reflection I'd probably amend my take on. I nearly tweeted out earlier when I quote tweeted Leighton's thing. I said, you know, it's possible that like they've got some bad labor practice or something like that, but like, why are we just accepting everything that Leighton is saying, especially when he's walking back one of his key claims, you know? God, this is so great though. It's so great. I mean, look, Don is unfortunately a casualty in all of this, but you know, at least we're getting some just desserts out of this response, I guess.
and completely taking Lex's situation and making it about himself. You guys know that this is not my style, and I did not want to have to dedicate a section of this video responding to Leighton in the way I'm doing so, but with what he has said publicly about me, I have no choice but to respond. I'm asking that people use their common sense and maybe take a step back and look at the big picture here. And I hope that people can see that there is a personal vendetta that is being blown up here and used. To end this video, I want to say that...
Guys, don't forget as well, Lex was in Leighton's chat when he was doing his stream. There's definitely there. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Yep, she was there, you know, mentioning certain aspects, different details. And Morg Pies too, yeah. There she was. Yep, I mean, look, it's, you know, I mean, the problem is, it's never going to be enough for people to take a step back. It's never going to be enough for people to step back and to go, you know, oh, maybe I was wrong about this. I can't retweet that. I'll like it, okay? Too sexual for my tastes. But people are not going to take a step back and go, okay, maybe we need to fucking pump the brakes before we actually come out and like agree with everything. But yeah, it's the same every time, you know? You hear one side of it, you immediately come to a conclusion about it without even hearing the other side. And then you hear the other side and you go, oh, okay. A bit more than this than meets the eye, it seems. Well, we've already got Don's story on what's happened. I mean, the reality of this is Don was just a playing piece in all of this. Don was the match that lit the fire to try and fuck with SuperMega. That's it, basically. That's now burnt out and been discarded. So Don is fucked. I feel bad for Don. Because at the end of the day, like, there's no benefit to these guys actually substantively defending Don. They've already cut him off. All they need to do is demonstrate that they didn't try and cover it up and acted reasonably, whilst maybe apologizing a bit for it. A lot of this was about attacking them. They've got to play softly with Lex because they can't go against her because she's the person that came out with the allegation. But they did push back against what she said about the house stuff. And then with Leighton, they're able to go much harder, you know? What would be interesting is like, how's Lex going to respond to this? Because Lex is like joined with Leighton on this stuff, and apparently they're friends.
To watch this and uncancel me. I don't expect people to flip back over to my side Do not harass anyone that was mentioned in this video. I'm not sending any harassment. I did not want to get into a lot of this, but when accusations like these are publicly made, it's fully within my right to be able to respond and defend myself and provide context where I feel like it's lacking. A lot of people, mainly Leighton and his close friends, have used this as an opportunity to capitalize off of what was have used this as an
Oh my God, they're calling out fucking Nick is not green, Morg Pie, and Bo Blacks. Is that Bo Blacks' video? Is Bo Blacks friends with people?
An opportunity to capitalize off of what was initially someone's story of sexual assault. It seems like
The thing is he friends with anyone involved? I know he put a comment on his private account because he was worried about a public backlash, he said, because he wanted to get more clarity about a certain point. But is he actually friends with anyone involved?
like the story lost its plot and quickly devolved into a dogpile on me and Ryan when I don't think we necessarily were the focus to begin with.
Wait, sorry, I'm missing important stuff.
Story of capitalize off of what was initially someone's story of sexual assault. It seems like the story lost its plot and quickly devolved into a dogpile on me and Ryan.
True.
When I don't think we
yeah. Oh, funny that, isn't it? It just happened to go off the... It's funny, isn't it? It just so happened to stop being about the sexual assault and it was all about SuperMega bad. Funny that, isn't it? Funny how that turned out. Funny how that turned out. I'd love to know what the percentage is of Lex's video talking about Don and the assault and what it is talking shit on SuperMega. I'd love to know what those percentages are. That'd be a very interesting figure to look at.
Necessarily were the focus to begin with, because it was about an assault. I anticipate many more people online will continue to do this because that's the internet and that's what it is. Overall, I would like for people to understand that this situation is not entirely black and white. There's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of personal feelings involved on all sides. The internet is very quick to pick sides with this kind of stuff and very hesitant to budge. But I hope that with the additional context I've provided in this video, you have a clearer view of the bigger picture. I am not expecting forgiveness or redemption. I messed up when it came to Lex with the Don situation. I'm not expecting forgiveness from Lex, but I do apologize entirely for how I fumbled that situation and how I wasn't a better friend. I'd like to also apologize to everyone that has become collateral damage in this situation. That includes the employees of SuperMega. That includes friends that have been brought into it. That includes partners that have been brought into it. That includes girlfriends and exes that have been brought into it. I am deeply sorry that my actions have culminated back into something that is affecting you. Finally, I want to apologize to all of the viewers and fans that I've let down. I am deeply ashamed of myself, and I wish that I could redo things, but I can't. So I understand your anger and frustration, and
good response,
I'm sorry. Anyways, thank you for listening. I appreciate it, and I hope you all take care.
There we go. Well, shit. There we go, guys. Damn, what a turnaround on that one. Damn. A moment of silence for Don. No, I do feel bad for Don. He's very much collateral damage in all of this.